You're listening to White Noise with your host, Drip, 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 Drip.
The sequel, White Noise, episode 11, movies, film, cinema, as Keanu Reeves says.
Yeah, about to say, hold on, where the hell is the video? We gotta let the guy talk.
Movies, films, cinema.
That's good.
And believe it or not, I saw a movie in this time frame. But so, if you don't know by now, this is White Noise. I'm your host, Drip. As always, I'm joined by the founder of Black Wrestling, a man who is not predictions champ, but neither am I, given the time of this recording.
That's crazy. I'm kind of pissed.
I found it hilarious. I loved it.
I don't think about, like, during the show. I don't think about my picks at all. I kind of just go based off of whatever. And it's interesting to see, because I guess Mimi, the champion, she lost the first match early. I think she was behind for a bit. And me and Fam were up for a bit.
She was down one match basically and caught up.
If Riddle,
the lead you and Fam had was one match. So the way it played out was very poetic.
It ended up being, if Riddle had won the match, it would have been a coin flip between Fam and I, because everybody had Roman. But because
between the former and former champion.
Right, yeah, between Mimi, Math, and Drip all picking Seth to win that match, it turned it into a 5-way tie going into the main event, which Roman obviously won.
It made sense because this is probably going to keep going, and we'll talk about this on the regular show. Black Wrestling every Thursday night on YouTube, 8:35 Eastern.
I will say, if patreon.com/Black Wrestling, if you're watching this, as of the time that this is posted, we do not know what we're doing Thursday to settle the 5-way tie. Hopefully,
Fam said fist fights. I think that's what
fist fights sound crazy when we're like we're all recording in separate locations. But I think
we gotta have. You know what? I actually thought about. I might just save this for the glide.
Okay.
Not for the title, but we might have to do a game or some a Family Feud type thing. This is a future episode to do
some type of trivia or something. We would just need to figure out. So the problem is over the internet trying to figure out who would be buzzing in first. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's going to be times where there's going to be multiple people who may want to answer the same thing. So we just need to indicate who.
No, I think it would just be you get one question, like password or whatever. Like you get one question answer, you get another question answer. Like that's probably the best way to do it.
And then what? Like, because we just got to figure. We got to go till somebody stops answering questions. Like, how do we?
Yeah, whoever has like the most points after 10 questions.
Oh, so it's a literal like Jeopardy type situation.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun.
It can't be something with all 5 of us though.
No, one of us has to be the champion. Would have to be the host, or we'd have to bring in.
We would need to bring somebody in because it needs to be fair. Like I said, a 5-way tie. I don't know. Damn, I hate. We've never done draws, but this would have been a great.
We did when we didn't have a title, because don't forget I was champ for 2 straight pay-per-views based off even draws, but that we didn't have an actual physical title to start keeping track of.
But
lineage. But we're not here to talk about that right now.
Yeah,
hopefully, by the time you see me, I will have a title over the shoulder, like I did at the start of the year.
Hopefully, I'll be your first 5-time.
That would be the case.
That would be the case. That would be ill too, huh?
Again, you are the Jeff Jarrett of this podcast.
I don't know what I'm the Big E Langston of this podcast.
No. You're Jeff Jarrett in TNA. I'm just making myself champ.
I can't. That's not like I tell the chat, it's not my fault. You hate them. If they get the picks wrong, it's on them.
People hate me to begin with, but
here you go.
That's for another conversation.
That's why you were going. That's why you were going to the theaters by yourself and not with a group of friends.
Yeah, To be honest, yeah, but you should have heard yesterday's Spaces.
Oh damn!
Math was like, Drip, you gotta acknowledge people when they come into the space. Just say what's up. I'm like, you've been around me in person. I keep my mouth shut in general unless we're having a conversation. Like,
Drip really do be in the background quiet.
I mean, it's not like I'm not social, but like I just don't talk for talk's sake.
No,
Like,
absolutely.
I've never been one of those people. Same thing like in the classroom. It's like I'm not gonna like if you talk to me first, I'll talk to you. I'm not just hey, how's it going? Like, yeah, like
I think I am like that.
I think we're wired the same way. That's why we don't do spaces, and that's why when I hop in spaces right after, I'm like, I've made a huge mistake.
I get into the spaces. If I'm in the spaces, I will talk, but it's more I'm making myself be, and that's kind of the thing. Like at a certain point, you can only get so far talking to yourself. So you just have it's a skill I hate, but it's a skill I have to use because you got in meeting people. I don't say 9%, but meeting people a lot of the time ends up to you getting opportunities. It's because it's very who you know. It's not always what you know. I wish if it was what I know, I'd be a lot farther than I'm right now. Any opportunity I've had has been because of somebody I've known key in that situation, being like, yeah, this guy, bring him in, he can do the damn thing. But anyway,
yeah. So part one, basically, I broke down. Again, for anyone who's not, this is a weird journey to discuss, given how movie theaters are. Today is National Cinema Day
that's the funny part, yeah.
When we're recording this episode, so it'll be last week if you're watching this on our YouTube. But if you're a Patreon subscriber, thank you as always. Shout out to y'all.
For the real 10, the real MVPs, yeah, facts. There's a lot of people that are adjusting. I noticed too.
Like I said,
they'll pay
I think it's the first of the month. I think
I totally
bills come due. Oh, I gotta pay my car payment.
I got a couple of things I gotta, but I understand and I do it as well. I can't always go the extra mile, but just know that when things come up, there are situations where going the extra mile can
Well, they're getting this. They got a new Bulls in the China shop with Semp and Vin. So that's episode 3, I believe. Black Watch again every Monday with Downtown Tony Brown and something else's fam. So
facts.
Again, there's a lot to subscribe on the Patreon for. But like I said, 2013, I broke down. I just moved here from California. I started seeing movies on my own consistently for the first time, and actually going to the movies more than once for the first time that year, as we documented. 2014. I was watching more pirated movies than going to the theater, but the big movies I made sure to go to the actual theater and see. And in 2015, got a car, consistent source of income. I'm spending time at the movies, which kind of carried over into 2016. I'm basically like Christian Slater in the beginning of True Romance.
Classic.
I go to the movies by myself and I'm just watching a shit ton of movies. Clarence Worley, that's the vibe I was giving off in 2015, 2016.
I wish I'd seen that in the theaters. I saw that on tape.
And I seen that movie till last year, but that was a movie my mom always talked about, and I had just never had gotten the chance to see.
The first time you saw True Romance was in 2021?
Yeah, it was on HBO Max, and I watched it. And I was like, wow.
Oh, man. What a... Fuck. What an... I would have...
Yeah. And really, I mean... And that it was like, wow, it was as good as I always heard it. Like, it didn't disappoint. And there was a great story Tarantino wrote. I mean, I'm told on a podcast after Tony Scott had passed, where Tony Scott had gotten 3 of Tarantino's scripts. Oliver Stone had already selected Natural Born Killers, I believe. Tony Scott said, I want this one. And it was Reservoir Dogs. And the mutual friend between Tony Scott and Tarantino said, actually, Quentin wants to direct that one as his debut. So there's this one left, and it was True Romance. But imagine Tony Scott's Reservoir Dogs.
That would have been ill.
It would be probably a lot more gunfights. We would see the heist. We would actually see the heist.
It would be one of the great things. Very, very detailed, or at the very least, very explosive. Yeah.
But 2016.
2016. The height of well, I shouldn't say height, but like MCU was big. That was a big year for DC. They put out a couple of.
I was about to. This is the list of. I share the document, but this is the list of movies for 2016, 17, 8. So I'm going to speed as much as I can. I know you don't
I
want
was
to be
going
here
to
all
ask,
night.
but I don't like pre-producing a lot of the stuff that I do on here, contrary to popular belief. But yeah, I'm glad there's a list that you're going to speed through. Let's go.
Well, it started off where I said this last week. Final movie of 2015 I saw was The Force Awakens. I thought it was the best of that trilogy. I ran it back. I saw it, like I said last week, by myself the first time. Then the whole family saw it the second time. And then the third time, it was just me, my dad, I think maybe just my youngest stepbrother. But again, the best of that trilogy. Not the best thing Star Wars has done since Disney owned it. That'd be The Mandalorian. And then Obi-Wan being second. But worth going to the theater multiple times to see, especially at that time.
Right.
So next up is a movie called 999. Do you know this film?
I feel like I've heard about 999, but I've definitely never seen 999. Who's in it?
Casey Affleck, Woody Harrelson, Anthony Mackie, Aaron Paul, Norman Reedus, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Kate Winslet. It's a crime film set in Atlanta about dirty cops who rob banks. And
You
Casey
went to the
Affleck,
movie theater to see this movie?
this was a big. So the podcast I was listening to at the time. It's funny. I hate name dropping people that you know and work with.
No, it's fine.
This was a big Chris Ryan movie, and Chris Ryan is an influence of mine. He was hyping this movie up, and I'm like, "Yo, I'm going to see this movie." And again, and at the time, I'm like, it looked like not a Sicario ripoff, but like if I like Sicario, I'll like this.
I was gonna. This looks like a very drip film. The posters.
I'm always a sucker for like cops in street clothes, but with the bulletproof vests over the street clothes, and the chain badge. Going with the guns like this, like Casey Affleck has the riot shield and then the gun over it. It's not really good.
It doesn't look really good. When I saw the poster, I'm like, yeah, I would not go see this.
Yeah, it has some moments, but yeah, overall, it's a mess. Yeah, the late Michael K. Williams is in it.
I'd rent it to see.
Yeah, I'd say check it out. You will be like, 2.5 out of 5. You know,
I'll take internet. I'll watch an action movie, but I've seen a lot of shitty action movies as a result.
But this was one of the things where, like, yeah, maybe everything I won't go see is just superheroes and spaceships and all that. Because coming up, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. This was the Thursday night showing. I went back on a Saturday. Because after leaving the Thursday night showing, I was like, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was, right? Like, it was a real ain't no way. Ain't no fucking way.
Ain't no
fucking way, boy. And
I'm sorry, hit the wrong. I'm sorry.
Ain't no fucking way, boy.
Hey, I'm sorry. I apologize.
And I think this is when I probably also saw 999 because I don't know if I said this last time. Given who I am as a person, my mom and my grandma, my parents, I'd get movie gift cards a lot for Christmas, my birthday. So that's kind of like, you know what, this is a movie I'll spend the gift card on to go see. Something like 999, I think I used the gift card on, but I also believe I used the gift card for the second showing of BVS. Like, you ain't getting my money back another time. And this movie, I was hyped since they announced it. And then they announced Ben Affleck was going to be Batman. I'm like, I'm in. Then they say Gal Gadot is going to be Wonder Woman. I'm like, I'm in.
I like that casting.
That first Comic-Con trailer, I remember when it dropped. That was the day of the Conor McGregor-Chad Mendes fight. Uh-huh. It was a pouring rain that day. I got a ticket in a work vehicle that day. And this is in 2015. But that trailer was so fucking dope. It had the brief snippet of him fighting at the warehouse to rescue Martha. Mm-hmm. And if you've been following me on Twitter at DavisAKDrip, lately I've been dropping these highlight videos that contain clips of the movies I have and will be discussing, set to some Drake instrumentals. But I got something planned for the third one.
Oh, shit.
And that fight scene in the warehouse is the best thing. Ben Affleck's the best thing about BVS. Great as Bruce Wayne, a great Batman. His Batman just, even though he's using guns a lot, but that's Zack Snyder being Zack Snyder. And as we talked about last week, where I said I was somewhat a Snyder head.
Yeah.
And you had dropped the great tidbit about seeing the Owls of Ga'Hoole.
I had to take my son. My son wanted to see the Flying Owl movie.
What I said last week too. I saw Man of Steel. I really liked Man of Steel, so I'm like, DC's got it. Like they started off with Man of Steel, they're gonna keep it going, and they didn't. Jesse Eisenberg is
Tank.
oh my god, just so bad as Lex Luthor. And there's the whole thing that the internet always tries to. Well, actually, it's kind of better now in hindsight. It's like, no.
There are people who are really into DC, and I don't.
Banks defends this movie a lot, saying
Well,
it's
like
not that
Banks,
bad.
I know, like,
and I'm like, shut up, you like horrible shit.
Justin from the A Show is a big DC guy. I shouts out to Chops, my boy Chops, who used to work with a former coworker. He's a big DC guy, or was, but I'm not a Marvel apologist. I know, Marvel can be trash and has trash under their belt. I always get surprised when because people who like DC really like DC.
Yes,
and I never understand, because like films like BVS, I'm kind of like, why?
It's almost to the point, and this is why I always say I like the wrestlers. When I say I'm all elite, I like the wrestlers in AEW, but I also know AEW isn't all it is. And there are some diehards who like AEW no matter what. And there have been some shit over the 4 years of AEW. Well, technically 3, but since they started, where it's like you got to admit that this, and this definitely were some lowlights. Like
right, and there were some highlights in the film, because I think for an introduction of a character in a film like one of these, they did a really good job with thrusting Wonder Woman into these stories. You know what I mean? And I did like, for the most part, I like the Wonder Woman film, but
we'll get to that a little bit later.
Yeah, that'll be out soon.
So I see this movie 2 times in 3 days, like a glutton for punishment. They dropped the extended version in the summer, and I watched that, which is 30 minutes of bullshit footage, and I was just like, you made a bad movie worse.
It's like a 3-hour movie.
Yeah, it's like 255. It's basically what the Batman is almost.
Runtime 231. Christ.
And
it's rated. Yeah. It's rated R.
They say fuck maybe one more time, and then there's blood. There's blood in the warehouse fights or whatever. But this has like extra footage of Jimmy Olsen, who they killed off, and Jimmy Olsen's a CIA agent. That's just bad screenwriting. I hate when Hollywood does that bullshit.
Right. Right. Adding one more. You said they said fuck. One more time. I can't. I've never watched an extended. Wait, I'm lying. The only extended Snyder film I watched is Sucker Punch, just because.
Oh, I thought you were going to say just an extended film in general. I was like, what?
No, I'm not. I can't do longer versions of already long films, and knowing how.
So you never saw Oliver Stone's Alexander? I think that's the only time I've seen Oliver Stone's Alexander was the super long.
No, I'll maybe watch an extended version of Goodfellas or something like that if they had extra scenes that worked in the film.
If it's just 20 minutes of the dinner scene at his
mom's
house,
it's an extra 5 minutes of him beating the guy in the face with the gun after he was hitting on Karen.
We probably have 2 more scenes with the ma at dinner.
Extend that. Maybe
another scene of just him and Karen, like. If they showed, you want them to, again, just like Reservoir Dogs, you want them to show the Lufthansa heist.
Show me the Lufthansa heist. Show me killing every guy in the. I need to see all of the murders and not the end result. Yeah, give me show me a little bit more of Henry Hill, like being a schlub in suburbia, fucking pushing around.
That I don't want to see, because that's. Yeah, that's disappointing. They could have gone into the Boston College scandal, which they made a 30 for 30 about how they rid games with Boston College.
Nice. Put some of that shit in there. Anyway.
They could show a scene where Stax plays guitar. Like
there's probably. I'm going to assume Scorsese did have footage sitting around of stuff that could. But again, who knows how usable it is.
But the next movie, I also saw twice in the back. Not through 2 times in 3 days. It was 2 times in 2 weeks. And this movie was the rival to BVS, and that's a film called Captain America: Civil War. And let me tell you, that movie was fucking amazing. Still, as I rewatched it and prep for The Gray Man, the way they introduced Black Panther, T'Challa was just like how they introduced Wonder Woman, like you said, is well done. But T'Challa, Spider-Man, fucking Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
You know Collider, right?
Yes, that's where I really go to every day for movie news.
At the time, my former employer owned and operated Collider. And it changed maybe a couple years later because the guy got really into crypto and was able to, take over. Like no bullshit. Like he essentially took whatever he made in crypto and kind of changed the course of that company.
I think in this time frame, I'm going on. I maybe told this to you before in the early days of getting to know the three of y'all. I was on Complex like every other day, and also Collider every day. It's like I checked those two sites on breaks. Any type of like news and anything like that to like know what's up.
Like, Collider's really it's one of the premier. It's like the Comic-Con heavy, like news outlets for that side of entertainment. The only screen at this time was 2016, so I had been a year into doing like light news writing in pop culture. I may have been getting out of social editing for the pop culture channel at the time and was doing a lot more news writing in general. But so at this time, I didn't have any pull. The only screening I could get of Captain America: Civil War was the Collider fan screening. Three biggest pops of the night. The biggest pop of the night was when Frosty came out before the film. It was a packed theater. There were a lot of civilians. I think there may have been some press. I knew one guy from Collider was there, but it was a lot of just fans of Frosty and fans of Collider, and they popped so heavy for him when he came out there and got on the mic. Was like, yeah, we're gonna fucking rock this movie or whatever. When people noticed T'Challa, especially when you see him with the whole outfit on. But
he has a great reveal when he's just T'Challa, and they have that great scene with
his father.
Yeah,
because people do.
And then you know what's happening. But then when again he runs him down and then takes off the helmet. Part 2, the video I made today was about a bunch of chase scenes. It was chases on foot, chases on motorcycles, and chases on cars.
Chases on foot in Civil War is crazy. They cut
that clip together where he's running Bucky in the middle of that tunnel, and Cap's going right after them. And Cap's like, "Fuck this! I'm gonna get in a car because this man
ain't gonna fucking chase me."
But then in Infinity War, they have they run side by side. It's a split race. It's like Ben Johnson and
Cap's kind of looks like shit. This motherfucker really can go. But third biggest pop of that screening when I believe the scene before they go into the Spider-Man stuff. Is it Iron Man says something? They're trying to figure out where he's where you got a friend from in New York.
Like, yeah, it's like
I forget the line.
And she's like, I know someone too. He's like, who are you thinking? She's like, who are you thinking? And they play Alt J's Left Hand Free, I believe.
The
and it says Queens.
The needle drops. Queens fills the screen. The crowd fucking goes ham. You would have thought the Stone Cold glass was breaking. You would have thought, like any number. They were so because again, we knew what was happening, but they didn't just say they're here right now. It was they did a really good job. They did a really good job
with the whole like he's been monitoring him. The play of Marissa Tomei, and they had the history with Only You. No, that's the one with it's Chances Are Only You. One of the ones that they did in the 90s, the two of them.
I'll play Statman.
But he has the like Aunt Hottie, like it's just that rapport, and you can see that's why they stuck Tom Holland and Robert Downey Jr. together.
Right.
Again, even though people were like it's just a sparring match, but the scene with Team Cap, Team Iron Man, he becomes Giant Man, and then he does. Have you seen that old movie? Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, that was a good line. That was a good line.
And just the handicap match at the end where it's Bucky and Cap against Iron Man, and he fucking blows this dude's robot arm off. It just becomes like
nuts. That whole situation, that whole fight scene was.
I said,
nuts.
I like watching that and then like and then rewatch. No, I like in prep for the Gray Man. I'm like, these guys aren't gonna let me down, and
they did not let you down.
If you're watching this now, this week's Banks versus Davis, we talked about the Russos' upcoming show Citadel, which is a shit show in terms of production.
What channel is that going to be on?
Amazon. I read a whole Hollywood Reporter article about how this show is costing $250 million.
They're throwing chicken though. They're throwing chicken at that Lord of the Rings show as well.
They say the Lord of the Rings show costs $465 million, and that this Citadel show is basically Avengers as Spies. Is the second highest show ever made. It's but no, I mean,
Disney Plus has got they're putting hella money out there in their shows too. Amazon's just catching up. But hey, sidebar. I think I found out why you said chances are only you. Is it because this is the DVD?
Yeah. I've only seen one, and I saw Chances Are.
So only you is a Marissa Tomei, Robert.
Yeah,
Downey.
like I know it's because it's like their songs. They're like their old timey songs. But no, my mom had a VHS of movies from HBO.
The trailer for that. Yeah,
Chances Are. Which is a weird movie.
It looks. That looks. Is that?
No, it's Sybil Shepherd, Ryan O'Neal, and was it Mary Elizabeth? Yeah, Mary Stuart Masterson. I always confuse it. No, but Christopher McDonald, Shooter McGavin dies, then gets reborn as Robert Downey Jr. He's dating Mary Stuart Masterson, who's Sybil Shepherd's daughter, and Christopher McDonald was married to Sybil Shepherd
in real life.
No, in this movie.
It's
the guy is reborn and
I knew you were going to say that, and I hate those.
And Ryan O'Neal was the best friend of Christopher McDonald and has always been in love with Sybil Shepherd.
It's like that movie Switch, where it's like an older rich white guy dies in like a hot tub, and his soul gets transported into whoever that blonde woman was that was in that movie.
There's a lot of movies like that. I mean, like
I hate that.
Heaven Can Wait.
Yeah,
that inspired Chris Rock's Down to Earth, right? Yeah.
I hate those. There's maybe one of those I've liked. Anytime that premise comes up, I'm like, turn this off. Anyway.
All right. So Civil War again, better than BVS, and the two again.
Yeah.
It was low key the same thing. One went the month prior, and that was BVS, but it was the trio of Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman versus the trio of Iron Man, Captain America, and Black Panther, because they had advertised Black Panther a lot more than Spider-Man. Spider-Man was the whole rumor of just wait and see what else is in this movie. But low key in February, this is TV wise, but Daredevil season 2 dropped, which had Daredevil, The Punisher, and Elektra. That was a real what a time to be in live in terms of
who you telling? I'm
saying the content was fucking going. I was like,
wait, full circle. I interviewed. Damn.
Don't say John Bernthal.
All right. No. Here we go. Hold up. I'm sorry. I got All right. I can't name too many names in this story, but I just kind of want to set the tone a little bit. All right. So back, this is 2016.
We're gonna be here all night because I still.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but because I was starting to move around this time, and one of my biggest features coming to be was with John Bernthal. Sorry, I at the time I had seen a couple screeners of season 2 of the Punisher, season 2 of Daredevil, and I was like, yo, I like this depiction of the Punisher. This shit's kind of harder than the rest of the show. If I could get John Bernthal, let's go. I've always been able to have a good relationship with Netflix for whatever reason. I was always willing to do shit with them. Shout out to the people at Netflix. Got the interview. It was going to be like my second wide feature, because I had already talked to Rob Liefeld for Deadpool.
I dropped this last week. I skipped Deadpool in the theater.
Crazy. Yeah, because that would have been February 2016.
And then I regretted it. I'm like, damn, this movie was good.
I'm not going to name the name.
Deadpool just looked too cheap. And then when I watched the movie, I'm like, they spent all the money at the beginning and at the end, so everything in the middle was just.
I bet
Small
a
budget.
coworker at that time, a 6-pack of Heineken, that Deadpool was going to do better in the theaters than Suicide Squad, and I got that 6-pack of Heineken.
What do you think's on the list, Cal? We're getting
Very
close to
quickly.
your John Bernthal story.
But so I interviewed John Bernthal, ill interview. They know that I'm set to drop it at a certain point. Get a call on my desk phone. This is back when I had a desk phone, and they were like, "Redacted has a feature coming out with John Bernthal in Redacted publication."
I think, is it 2 letters?
3.
Okay, that's not what I. Not
That's the
magazine.
abbreviation.
It's not what I think it is.
The
in terms of
feature.
publication.
The feature that came out was cool, but I think I got a little more juice than they got. They went more with the profile. I was going in on the Punisher. But they said, we know that you wanted to drop the feature on XYZ date. Redacted publication says they're not going to publish if you publish first. I always assumed it meant because they knew that my shit was going to be heat, because I had a great conversation. There was news that came out because him and Tom Holland, they were in a movie and they did
Pilgrimage.
They did their Spider-Man and Punisher tapes. They coached each other. I had that tidbit in there. Collider posted it. The World picked it up off of Collider. Anyway, I'm sitting on the phone like, wait, redacted writer and redacted publication won't run their feet because nobody can hear my conversation. So I'm saying it out loud so my coworkers can hear me. I'm like, they won't publish if I publish first. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And I'm on hold. I'm like, what do we do? Because
And like publish.
I have to maintain this relationship like it's Netflix, and you know, I ended up holding the feature because I didn't want to piss anybody off. And I will say, I think it was the right move because when I was out of work, I had my Netflix people looked me out on a couple of things that nobody saw. There were a couple of things that I was able to do that nobody saw. That, you know, shouts out to Netflix. But
Was this in person or over the phone?
this is over the phone. I did everything. I interviewed over the phone. I was in the bullpen interviewing people like, yeah, what's up? Because we didn't have like.
I would have been intimidated to interview John Bernthal in person just because the way, even though he's about to be the American Gigolo, but like had like that Punisher vibe, like he'll fuck you up, like.
That was him, and I think that's why he was good as the Punisher. But he still, like, John Bernthal wasn't a huge name. He wasn't where he is now.
We've seen this guy for years, low key, in some other things. This is a whole other conversation.
Exactly.
John Bernthal, shout out to John Bernthal. Come on, White Noise, John Bernthal. Let's repay the pain.
If we could. So yeah, I had to hold my feature back, but that for like a half hour on Twitter, I was subtweeting cash shit. Yeah. I was dropping Mobb Deep chorus lyrics and everything because but it made me realize that, like, yo, I'm obviously doing something right.
You got them shook, yeah.
There were some shook ones out there for my little fucking, you know, nobody really read interview, but they knew. Anyway, shouts out to John.
I want to say, like, we went to that big 3 of like, they kicked it off in February, then March, and then Civil War, and Civil War top 10 MCU movie again. Because I saw Winter Soldier. This is the Russo brothers again. They're buying that goodwill right now.
At the very least, I knew that the Captain America movies were like the hardest movies in the MCU because Winter Soldier and Civil War, not too many of them had bangers like that back to back.
Exactly. Next up. This was a rough one because I was getting hyped for this one. X-Men Apocalypse.
Oof. Terrible.
The stuff with the mutants in terms of Xavier's mutants is good. The stuff with Oscar Isaac and the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse is terrible.
Wait, what stuff with the mutants? Like what
like
exactly?
All the stuff about with like the main X-Men, I should say, is good. Like all the scene, like because the movie constantly cuts back and forth between the X-Men and the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse.
What was
recruitment?
What was I don't remember what the main X-Men were doing. I remember all Apocalypse was doing because I liked Storm and I liked Olivia Munn. I didn't know. I don't
Yeah.
remember the other storyline over there to this fucking abomination.
Yeah, and my guy Scott Summers is reintroduced because again they reset the timeline with Days of Future Past. So this is the sequel to that. They went from the 70s to the 80s.
This was an 80s film. They were like partying in the field or something.
No, that's Dark Phoenix, and we'll get to that next episode.
Oh shit! I do not remember this
film. It's very forgettable. Like, and they had cast some good actors to be the
look at this cast, bro.
I mean, you say what you want about her on Game of Thrones, but Sophie Turner as Jean Grey, Alexandra Shipp as Storm, Cody Smith McPhee as Nightcrawler. They brought him in.
Right, the Nightcrawler stuff was interesting.
And this is when finally, as you see in the poster, James McAvoy shaves his head, but he shaves his head for the final 20 minutes of the film. Like this poor fucking guy. But then he went on to make Split, which is fucking great.
What a film! I saw that. I wish I saw that in theater.
I didn't, and when I saw it on HBO, I was like, "This movie was fucking great!"
That movie was hard. That movie was super hard.
But yeah, Apocalypse, poor Oscar Isaac, and then he does Moon Knight, and it's just this man can't pick a comic book project to save his life.
Poor Oscar Isaac.
But
this was a worse situation for him than anything in Moon Knight, though, because they really fucked Apocalypse up.
They did.
Terrible depiction of that character.
And yeah, and this is when I'm fully like, okay, I had already had my suspicion about Bryan Singer being a hack, especially when he usurped the franchise back from Matthew Vaughn. But then I'm also like, Simon Kinberg, let's put him in Hollywood jail too, because and then come Dark Phoenix, let's lock this man up for his crimes. But
I interviewed him for that, but we'll save that random.
Oh, God. This is another. No, to say this is another Thursday night show, and again, these movies, no girlfriend in sight. Solo Thursday night showings.
Were you hyped for this film?
I told you I was. Yeah.
You were watching X-Men with your dad and everything, right?
I had said last week because my dad and I saw Wolverine. Even though I'm born in '95, I watched the X-Men animated series in the '90s. I watched the X-Men Evolution cartoon series. That was kind of more my era in the early 2000s. That's more in high school. It's almost very like Degrassi-esque.
Right.
So I always like seeing the main lineup of Cyclops, Jean, Storm, Beast, Nightcrawler, and that's what they were giving me again. Like the reason I didn't want to see First Class in theaters, I'm like, who the fuck are these people? Like Banshee? No.
Oh yeah, because they didn't get into the extent. But the funny thing is, you got a really good comic book X-Men education from the animated series, but then that didn't really give you like.
When I would see these movies, I'm like, oh, I remember, and that's when I had said that my dad took me and my brother to see Last Stand, and my dad was so pissed when Angel shows up and isn't in the movie for the rest of the movie. He's like, they fucked up Angel, and I'm like, I know. And then Apocalypse, they bring Angel back as Archangel, and they fuck him up.
There's a couple of iterations of of Archangel in the comics that I love so much, and when I watch this fucking abomination, I was so upset. They fucked. Psylocke looked great.
Yeah, Olivia Munn's Olivia Munn. Like
she was training hard for her Instagrams, and she's fucking swinging swords, and she was ready for this film to be a fucking mute.
Olivia Munn also just because I rewatched a little bit of it the other day. The Predator, just bad luck in big franchise IP. Like
I mean,
should be a bigger star in terms of an action.
Spoiler alert. She looks like she would be a bigger star than her talent would. So I don't know. Either she's not done a film that's really showcased all of her abilities as an actor, or
serious TV show. I think sometime last year. But again, also shout out to John Mulaney. Like how
everybody loved John. The problem was, this is so off topic. The problem with John Mulaney and Olivia Munn is everybody loved John Mulaney because they thought he was a guy that would never
do something like that.
Never do this. They forgot that he's a human fucking being. And
but that feeds my theory. My mom always said, because Jason Sudeikis went from January Jones to Olivia Wilde, and I was like, women like funny guys, they like comedians, and I'm like, Okay, I'll try to be funny for the rest of my life.
It's true. What is Kai Cenat? Kai Cenat, major YouTube Twitch star. He always says this line: if you make them laugh and giggle, you can make that ass clap.
We'll get to that in 2017, my friend. 2017, 2018.
Trip started going to the movies.
So Pop Star Never Stopping. Briefly discussed this last week.
Right.
What compelled me, just being a fan of the digital shorts on SNL, I had the time free on my theater offers Tuesday $5 and Thursday it was like you get a percentage if you were a college student. That's also why I was kind of going to a lot of these showings as well. At the time, I was still going to tech college in the spring and the fall, winter. So I you show you have an ID and you get a discount and all that. And
Right.
I use that for Popstar Never Stop. Underrated film of the decade. Great cameos, a great Justin Timberlake cameo, great songs by The Lonely Island. We discussed this last week where Andy Samberg put out something that was great every single year from 2015 to Palm Springs.
It's definitely underrated, but I will say those who knew, especially at the time, knew it because the critics rocked with this film. I think it was just at a certain again, it may have been a little early for Andy Samberg to be the guy in the middle of the poster or whatever.
I don't think it's that because he had done Hot Rod. He
but you're talking about Hot Rod.
No, it's that thing where it's Andy Samberg's not a movie star. And Andy Samberg's someone we like, but he's not a movie star.
But
I had read up on this movie for I think a year prior because at the time it was called what his character's name was, Connor for Real. Right. Then they changed it to Pop Star Never Stop, Never Stop, and I'm like, I like the other name better. Right. But I think they're like this sells better than ironically Drake has the song Pop Star in 2020, which
was
this movie.
Was this Celeste and Jesse Forever? I don't know any of these movies. It seemed
never
like
saw that.
He was never like a big leading. That might have been one of the first leading films that he was in. That Celeste and Jesse Forever. So I mean, again, it feels like this was a big deal in terms of him really stepping out as a leader after all of the success that you're talking about.
Well, it's like Hot Rod. He does Hot Rod while he's in SNL. He's the star of that. He's on SNL, then leaves. Brooklyn Nine-Nine starts, and I think he's like, if I can leave TV, I'll go be a movie star. It was one of those. And he does That's My Boy with Sandler, and that was, I think, Sandler trying to pass the torch to him. But that movie's horrendous.
Hot Rod failed at the box office. On a $25 million budget, it made $14.4 million. This man.
Well, here's a movie that failed at the box office. You mentioned it earlier, Suicide Squad. Ugh, rough.
That movie, talk about a belabored production. When the real story about what fucked that movie came out,
second trailer.
Yeah, well, the person who bet me a 6-pack of Heineken about Suicide Squad over Deadpool was hyped because of that first trailer. Because that first trailer was it set to Queen?
No, the first trailer is a super dark. Like, what kind of movie did they?
Oh, the second one is
the second trailer is the one set to Queen, and that's when they go and recut the movie.
Yeah,
to make it like that trailer because they knew they had a movie that was completely different from what they had made. But if you had seen the cast photo the year prior, where Jared Leto has tattoos and looks the way he does as the Joker, I mean, I was all in because Margot Robbie, huge fan for a number of reasons. This is Will Smith playing an actual comic book character. Banks and I talked about this earlier, but he was only Hancock before, but this is him as Deadshot.
Right.
But this is directed by David Ayer, who is just like king of the awful stereotypes. Because he has Killer Croc, who's supposed to be black. So he dresses him in like Aniche and like makes him watch BET. And then he has Jay Hernandez, who's a good actor, play Cholo. I forget what his character's name, but like the fire guy.
The Latin fire guy, yeah.
El Diablo. There we go.
Diablo,
I think.
Yeah.
And it was just like,
wow.
God. And then we see Bright in next year. Oh God. And again, it's like, do you just like believe everyone is
cop
or like
I went to a screening for Bright, man. I'm sad that I saw that in a theater, technically.
And then it ends with like the lead up to Justice League. I'm like, well, at least they'll fix this.
Nope.
But that's coming up. But yeah, Suicide Squad. What do I like about it? Just Margot Robbie in it.
Yeah, Harley Quinn does a great job of.
That's the only redeeming thing. Is like she's great as Harley Quinn. And then we see that for 2 more movies. Luckily,
they knew what they had with that one.
A movie that I liked at the time and is just still okay. Again, keeping up with the theme of comic books, I'm only going because it's the big names. It's Doctor Strange. Very cut and dry, very simple. I liked it, but Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, fucking phenomenal.
Yeah. Doctor Strange, that's like a 2-hour movie. It felt like it was 45 minutes. They got through so much.
And not much happens is the thing. That's
not much happens. No, I didn't like the villain. I didn't like
my guy, Mads Mikkelsen. Tough look for him.
No, I mean not even him. The fucking big thing that he just
Dormammu.
It got stuck in a time loop. I was like,
there's a movie we'll talk about next week where I'm like, so like at the end of the day, like that's what our like set piece was. Our ending set piece was. This set piece was a man dying over and over and over until one man got fed up and just like, all right, and it was a real damn all right already.
Yeah,
like,
I got pissed off. I was mad about that.
But I liked the casting of Benedict Cumberbatch because I was a huge fan of Sherlock once I saw it.
He does very well in that film,
and he's great as Doctor Strange, as we'll get to when we talk about the MC projects. But yeah, just basic middle of the pack MCU. Not bad, not great, just really good.
Who's the woman? Is that Amy Adams?
Rachel McAdams.
Rachel McAdams. I'm sorry, Amy Adams. I knew I was
wrong. I got Regina Hall and Regina King wrong next.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Week.
You're right.
It happens.
I was just like I was happy that Linda Cardellini was cast. Cardinelli, I'm sorry, was cast as Hawkeye's wife. I like the casting of Rachel McAdams as
nothing to do in the second one except
they really
at the end when she does the like go back to hell and she burns the fucking ghoul or whatever.
Yeah, she needed something because she was not in that film at all.
Yeah, but she does have the powerful scene of him saying to her, I love you in every universe. And that just tugged the heartstrings.
I gotta rewatch that film. I only saw it the one time.
You should. It's great. I'm the only defender of that movie.
Really? My Fraser likes that film too. I enjoy, but
I'm a Superman on the show. I already said like
I'm a Sam Raimi,
the Raimi guy. That's why.
The fact that they let we're in 2022 right now. The fact that they let him do his thing. I appreciated that most about Multiverse of Madness.
And this was Scott Derrickson, who I'd never seen his films. I never saw Sinister. I never saw Deliver Us from Evil.
I don't think
so he was this big horror director. I never saw any of his stuff. And this movie is not, I think, what he wanted to do. But I think he was like, if I do what you want here, you'll let me do what I want later. And then when it came for him to do what he want, they're like, we don't want you to do what you want. So that's why Sam Raimi got brought on.
I'm sorry, hold on. I'm just trying to see if I'd seen. Yeah, I don't think I'd seen any of his films before. Oh, he did The Black Phone as well.
I was going to say that's why he was able to do that, because he didn't do Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness.
Interesting. Yeah, I've not seen any of his films before Doctor Strange.
And the final film of 2016, Rogue One, a Star Wars story.
Are you plus or minus on this film?
I when I saw it, I liked it, but I was also like, I was at this time again. I'm reading Collider a lot. I'm reading Complex. I'm basically how you know me now and how Matt knows me, which frightens him in terms of like, how do you know all this shit?
Right.
So when Gareth Edwards said that he was like trying to make Saving Private Ryan with Star Wars, I'm like, oh, okay. And this movie was not that.
Not that.
However, there's a lot of stuff in it I like, and not just the stuff at the end with Darth Vader showing up. I mean, like Donnie Yen being a blind Jedi who's not a Jedi. Alan Tudyk as KP or whatever. No offense to KP from Black Adam, but he's
I don't remember the call sign. That's a good character. I like the whole battle on the beach or whatever when they landed on the beach and have that big fucking war or whatever. That shit was hard.
It has moments. Again, big year for my guy Mads Mikkelsen went from Doctor Strange and Rogue One.
Mads was working.
And now we have Andor coming up, which is the prequel series to this, and this was the prequel to Star Wars.
But I like when they like I'm not that I don't like prequel series because we got we got 2 of them running right now, but I do like the prequel film. It just kind of tells a self-contained story because the way like if you watch Rogue One and then like immediately get into
Watch
A New
A New
Hope,
Hope.
it's like it's
Even though it's like, is New Hope supposed to pick up directly from that? It makes me think like a day or two has probably passed, and Darth Vader's like, we finally tracked them down.
I think
They jumped to hyperspeed right away. But like, again, that was the moment of the film. Obviously, he shows up and just again, what I say last week, Darth Vader's only good against scrubs. I said it when we talked about Prey because I'm like Darth Vader, the Predator. They're facing scrubs. You stand no chance in hell. Vader
in that scene is like Brock Lesnar beating up on security guards.
Exactly. Well, no, it's like Brock Lesnar in the Rumble when he entered as number 1 when he was champ.
And just took everybody
and just threw everyone out. But then, like when Drew McIntyre and Ricochet and Rey Mysterio show up, that's where he's like, "Oh, whoa, easy now, easy. I'm an old man." Like,
I will say, I think I don't know. You have to figure out how much time it took R2D2 to get the plans and then get the plans to. I'd have to rewatch, but I feel like there's like a It's like it's the same scene roughly, but I've not watched.
It gives that vibe, and this
I've
was
not
also
watched
they brought back the actor from the dead, and that was very creepy.
Yes, that was
that's when that really starts. In Ant-Man, they de-age Michael Douglas.
Didn't
Civil
like that
War,
either.
they de-age Robert Downey Jr. I'm all right with de-aging for a minute or two.
I don't like the way they look.
They look better.
They look better. Robert Downey,
someone like that, yeah.
But Robert Downey Jr., like the young Robert Downey Jr. robot, looked like a robot. It
turned out to be a simulation, so it ended up working out.
What I'm saying,
in the context of the film,
when I looked just like Gemini Man. When I watched Gemini Man for all fucking what's his name? I sat next to him. He talked about having to build cameras to get because he wanted it to be in what's up? Yes.
No, you talked to Ang Lee.
I was in a group of people, yeah, but I got to see the best parts of the film before the film came out, and because he was there and we did a round table. It was 2 different sets of people, but we did a round table discussion. I may have even written about it.
No, because he wanted to shoot it also in the super weird frames per second, whatever it is. Like
he wanted it to be like the highest quality.
Yeah. He had done that with that movie about the soldier coming back from the war,
right?
In which Vin Diesel plays a serious role in between his Fast and Furious movies. Like,
I want to say, that was his thing. I want to say that Gemini Man was shot. I don't think they could shoot it in 4K, but it was shot.
It was as close as he could
And I think there were only so many screens that could show it in as close as a quality as he wanted. But if you had the really high def glasses and were watching it in one of these higher definitions, you could tell. But when I say all this to say, when I watch young Will Smith walking through that film, it looks like a 2K character. Just happens to be in the movie every time. And like you said, I think 2016 was a big year. The de-aging, whatever, it gets worse.
That 2016, I think, when they announced Martin Scorsese's The Irishman coming in a few years.
Yeah, it gets worse.
2017. We're now in 2017. So every week I try to come up with some way to tie in the gray man himself. And what better way? What did I see in 2017? A film called La La Land. And it was magnificent. I liked La La Land a lot.
I've never seen this film.
I liked it a lot in the theater. The funniest thing about seeing this, and I saw this probably. Let me see. I don't want to search through the ticket, but I saw it early in the day with the old people.
Wow.
An old couple was talking, and another old guy said, "Are you going to be talking all movie?" And I was like, "Holy shit, they're not going to fight." After we sit through 2.5 hours of this magnificent movie about jazz and old-timey Hollywood musicals, Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone, who he used to date, the magnificent chemistry they have, love, lost. this old guy walks out with me and says, I was going to tell them to shut up, but they kept talking. And I was just like, I'm trying to get out of here.
Old people do not like when you talk to them.
January in 2017. I'm like, I get the election just happened a few months back. We're all testy. Like, keep it easy, man. Like,
that's funny. That's funny.
Like, hey, I had this was my day off from school. I gotta work my shift later in the night because that's what I was doing. I would go to school on certain days, but work Monday through Friday at night. And yeah, La La Land. I recommend it. It has just a powerful ending, which is replicated. Not that they stole, but it's something that always happens. It happens in the season 2 finale of Insecure when Issa sees the future she'd want with Florence. They do that in La La Land, and that always breaks my heart when someone imagines something and it plays out and you want it to be real and it's not real.
Did they punch you in the gut?
But again, my first time I saw a Ryan Gosling movie in the theater, shout out to the great man. But
what's next, Trip?
Next up, the man who provided the title for this series, John Wick Chapter fucking 2, and this movie fucking kicks ass.
It's the best movie you've talked about so far. Keep going.
So I skipped the first John Wick in the theater. I saw it when it was online, but I remember when I saw the trailer, I'm like, this movie's gonna be good.
Yeah, I was late to that film as well.
No, not necessarily late, but I just when I'm able to see this, I know I'm gonna like it. And I remember at the time Bill Simmons wrote his Action Hero Championship belt, and I'm like, Keanu Reeves is next up to win this. And for John Wick the first John Wick is good. John Wick Chapter 2 just fucking crushes it.
Amazing.
No hard feeling. And this poster, fucking
hard.
What it's fun when he hears
that shit. What a great film though. For mindless action.
Up where it left off.
Fact.
He's got the dog. He shows up at home, and this fucking Italian prick's like, John Wick, you owe me, and then I don't owe you shit.
Our blood pact, bro. You remember what you did? What I did for you, or whatever the fuck.
I mean,
Jesus, what a time.
I've never been a fan of Common really in general, but him and Common have two great showdowns in this movie.
Is this when they fight down the stairs?
They fight all over Italy, and then they fight in New York, and then on the subway.
That's with the pencil.
He kills the guy with the pencil, and then Common has a knife that does this stabs him, and he's like, if you take that out, you die.
You'll die,
So you'll die slowly now, or either way, you're fucked, which is the John Wick thing.
If we had time, I would play one of these because we're rocking on Vimeo. Shouts out to the patrons out there.
Oh shit!
We at some point we don't have time to take because we're still only in 2017.
John Wick 3, not as good as John Wick 2.
Correct. Yeah, I could say
has the better sequences in terms of him on the horse.
Whole beginning, the whole first 15 minutes or 20 minutes,
and then him on the motorcycles. Fighting the biker gang with the sword,
the horse.
I don't like Halle Berry, but I don't like that sequence. Is a little too long. The shootout,
the dogs.
I don't like that as much as I like him just shooting everyone in the music. I mean, this also has my guy Lawrence Fishburne showing up and just tearing apart everyone on set. With he's like, and get this man a gun. He just shows up, and Lawrence Fishburne knows how to act as the Bowery King.
Facts. And, it's the role he was actually born to play.
You get 6 bullets, John. 6 bullets. And then it ends where he just shoots this man dead in the Continental, and then Ian McShane's like, what the fuck did you do? And it ends with a great what do you do if they come after? He's like, kill him.
And they're putting the fucking head out.
He's fucking running.
And I'm like, women are fucking John Wick.
I'm like, when's the next one?
It was such a great cliffhanger to end on.
Part 3.
Spoiler alert.
Now this, you'll say, this run is when you'll be like, oh, now you're cooking drift. Now you start to figure it out because this next movie, khal.
Wait, what's next?
It's Get Out.
You saw Get Out. I did not see Get Out in theaters.
So two things about Get Out prior to me seeing it.
Uh-huh.
Key and Peele were on Bill Simmons' podcast, and Key had dropped something that people will always wonder the nature of our working relationship. I'm doing one thing, Jordan's doing something else. He just made this horror movie. I'm not in it, but we're still partners. We're still friends. We're supporting one another. I'm like, horror movie, huh?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And this is when they're promoting Keanu.
I remember.
The trailer drops, and I'm like, oh, so that's what he was talking about. I'm like, man, this looks bad.
Yeah,
I'm
really?
like, what kind of SNL skit is this?
It looked like an SNL skit. I do remember having that reaction, but I was like, I need to see this film.
The podcast I listened to, it didn't spoil it. They had to Get Out was really good, and there was they had a whole we were having a spoiler discussion about Get Out at the end. So I'm like, you know what? Let me go see it. And then after I saw, I think second week or third week, it was definitely not opening weekend. I'm like, all right, let me go see it. And then the first scene, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be good. And because it's so frighteningly real.
It's so real.
Keith Stanfield on the phone, a car drives by and then stops, and then a motherfucker comes out and I'm just like frightened. I think I told this to you last week. I unfortunately was sat next to a bunch of random people that were a whole group,
right?
Just because I bought my ticket so last second. No, white people. No, it's Minnesota. It's white. It's always white people here at the theater. Yeah, just blown away. I couldn't believe how good it actually was when it was over, and still to this day, I haven't actually rewatched it in 2-3 years.
When did I wrote about it for comp? It may have been, when did Us came out? 2019. I may have written about it.
We'll get to that next week.
It may have been. It was either 2020 or 2021. I rewatched Get Out for the first time. I may have to rewatch that again.
Yeah, I actually do, because now I'm starting to question: was Jordan Peele even good? I'm almost getting there.
All right.
Not in a negative way.
Hold on. Let's set the record straight, okay?
I don't want to believe that. Is what I'm saying.
Key and Peele was first seen as a corny show because people didn't like the fact that these guys were different than Chappelle's show, doing a sketch comedy show on Comedy Central. He may have even made a comment.
I watched them on Mad TV when I
could. Right. They were great on Mad TV. They've always been funny. Those two have always been. To two of them together, you could watch their shit right. You could put on any of those phenomenal sketches and put them next to funny shit now, and you'd be like, damn, now they were killing it back then, and that shit is still funny. When I saw Keanu and realized that they put that together, I was like, oh, you can see that Peele, at the very least, is a student. He really fucks with you. The way he would reference things in Keanu, because that was a very action film referencing film. There were just so many things that were put in there.
I'm saying this in the hot take way, because what I told you, what I liked about Nope was this guy wants to be Nolan, Tarantino, and Carpenter.
Right.
No, in terms because this movie has.
It's all of that.
Amazing scope. It's so nerdy in his SNL reference that Stephen Yeun drops about
Chris fucking Kattan,
guest star, and Chris Kattan. And when he wants to be John Carpenter with the scare, when Daniel Kaluuya sees that it's hovering over the house when it's just pitch fucking dark. He is gonna Hoyt Teva and Hotema shot this film, and what I told you when we briefly talked about it a few weeks, him against Jean Jacket with Lucky the Horse, it's a set piece of the year, which is him outrunning. But I'm also that Us is still that's a discussion for another day. Maybe that's Black Wrestling Podcast Club. Maybe that's.
But I will say
I have to rewatch Get Out to see again, if he had it from the beginning, we thought he did.
Some of the scenes you're talking about in Nope, some of those awesome shots were day for nights, where, if you don't know technical terms, he was shooting nighttime or shooting scenes that were supposed to look like night during the day.
Yeah,
he's a fucking ill filmmaker. But
I believe I'm not saying him as an entrepreneur, just the films overall. I'm
The world is what the world is wrong. Nope is a better film than Us. If you
I believe that. Yeah,
if you take the stories and break them down, Nope is a much more complete. There's a beginning, middle, and end. It all and if you watch Nope a second time and you see how everything really
I still
everything is
haven't yet,
really
and that's maybe I'll
at some point rewatch when you get to rewatch it and you knowing what you know and then seeing how everything references itself from beginning to end. He's a really great writer. I think
I told you afterwards, I was like, and I said this thing last week. I thought Nope was good, not great, and I liked it, didn't love it. But I thought it was definitely better than Us.
It goes
his works.
It's Get Out, Nope, then Us. Right now, people have Get Out, Us, and Nope. But Us,
no.
If when you're done do me a favor, rewatch Us, and when you're done watching the film, close your eyes and just think about if you have a tether, right, and they're connected to
that's what pissed me off the whole time. When I did finally see it, I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah,
there was a strong ass connection when she was at that beach. When they left, what was the tether doing?
No, my whole time is like, they say the underground tunnels exist so they can follow them wherever they go. But I'm like, it doesn't. It literally just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't work like that. Unless the underground is built.
He had an idea. He should just stuck with she has an evil twin, not everyone.
It's a cool idea until you really think about it, and then it falls apart. Unfortunately, because that movie has there's the whole killing of the white family scene or killing the white.
I'm like, that's when I'm like, I don't want to watch this movie.
That's pure horror. That's pure horror.
No, but it's also annoying the whole lead up to that and the stuff after when it just become like we're gonna be quippy. I'm like, you scared the shit out of me with the first 40 minutes, and now you're just boring me. And then when she has to go rescue him,
it was probably the most horror film that he's done, and there's a lot of horror films that are like that. They have a very ill premise. They have a lot of jokes and things that to keep you in and out and keep you building up the intensity and then pulling you back. But the story just lacks at a certain point. Yeah. But anyway,
so far,
Get Out is still his best film.
La La Land, Get Out, La La Land, John Wick Chapter 2, Get Out. Very auteur driven. Again, I'm developing my very artistic cinema auteur. What's a snooty way of like I like
stuff. Yeah.
And it kind of continues, but it's a comic book movie, and that movie's Logan.
Phenomenal. I love Logan.
And seeing Logan after John Wick Chapter 2 is just like, don't fuck with guys. Like, just leave old guys alone. Yeah. Don't seek old guys who like, I used to do this and now I don't. Like, just leave them the fuck alone. And also, this is 2016 and half of 2017. I'm trying to do some blog shit.
October 20th, 2016, I wrote all the times Wolverine was old as fuck in the Logan trailer. He had shaking hands. He was contemplating. He was drinking at his. I'm sorry. We can
no. That's because this movie's like he's old, but it's like, but he's also Hugh Jackman. Like, who are you fooling? Like, and he's Hugh Jackman built like Roman Reigns. Like, make it make sense. Like,
make it make sense.
Phenomenal movie. Again, I haven't rewatched it in a long time. I know it's on Disney Plus now, which is funny to say, given that it's an R-rated comic book movie.
They had to.
Great Patrick Stewart performance. That whole thing. The stuff with X-23, it's definitely the best Wolverine movie. It's always tough to say if it's the best X-Men movie because it realistically is in terms of how it's made, and they took time and care to make a complete. Well, James Mangold had said, like, I want to make the Western. I want to make and they made the Western. Like
the references to living in a world where the X-Men existed and there were comic books about the X-Men that mutants would then gravitate toward. Like, I don't know, there were so many my wife loved that film. My wife doesn't watch any of this shit. She sat and watched Logan with me multiple times, I will say.
Yeah.
Phenomenal film.
I got a question to ask that'll be similar to that coming up, but
what?
that there's a whole thing where I think yes, when a good tweet were like, it's a gritty superhero movie when someone's like comic books, oh this shit, like because it's based off his life. He's like, that's not how it went, like
At all. Yeah,
I was there. Yeah.
My wife's also a big fan of John Wick too, so she's a big action movie fan. So yeah.
Was she a fan of Kong Skull Island? Perhaps
she may have seen that film before I did because my son gets into that shit, but I don't know if she was a fan of that.
See, I don't know why I did, except that this might have been a gift card movie because I didn't see Gareth Edwards' Godzilla.
Right.
I really didn't care that they were trying to make Kong versus Godzilla.
Right.
Then I'm like, I'll go see this movie, and it's okay.
They had a good cast.
I think maybe that's why too. I'm like, it's got Tom Hiddleston, Brie Larson, Corey Hawkins, Sam Jackson. I mean,
they definitely stacked the deck. I mean, it doesn't matter at the end of the day.
Yeah, and it's not like it's dog shit. It's just like, yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's fun.
7 out of 10. Yeah.
Like, those are the movies that you go because you want to see Kong beat up a bunch of shit and destroy.
But again, that's what I'm like, but it's one of those things after I'm like, did I even really want to see Kong do that? Because the end teaser, it's like, what do you know about all these other monsters? Like,
right.
And I'm like, and then the next, 2019 is the Godzilla King of the Monsters, and that was already a hard pass for me when I saw the trailer. I'm like, nope, I'm not fucking seeing that. I'll just wait till the King Kong Godzilla movie comes out. I'm not seeing the movie in between them to come out. Like,
I didn't see this in theaters, but because my son's a Godzilla fan, he was into all of this shit. So, but I'll say this. These MonsterVerse movies they're like the best McDonald's meal you ever had. While you're watching shit, you're watching kaiju.
Afterwards, like, oh, what am I doing?
They destroyed the whole fucking town. You're noticing that, yeah, my stomach's rumbling because the story is fucking ass, and when they're not beating shit up, it's trash. And then when that movie's done, you're like, ugh.
Yeah.
I maybe should have,
and this movie plays a lot before AW comes on is the thing.
Yeah, they love it's
a Warner
the same,
movie.
Yeah, it's the same company. Yeah.
Next up, I kind of was hyped for this based off me being a 90s kid, knowing the IP, and they announced that they were going to reboot it. Power Rangers. and this much like Kong Skull Island, like not dog shit,
not
good
dog.
At time, not like good at times, but like the potential with this more than Kong Skull Island. I'm like, you had something and you didn't put it in the right hands in terms of writers and director.
Like Voltron. I've never,
and they don't become the Power Rangers until like the final 30 minutes. I'm like, you just wasted my fucking time. Like,
I wanted to tell the origins. They thought it was going to be a franchise, right? They were banking on this,
and they're still trying because now I think Netflix owns the rights to anything by Saban. However, there was the moment in the theater where the Megazord, there's a German suplex, and I'm like, he just took Goldar to Suplex City, like
German suplex.
And they legit it ducks under, and I'm like, did fucking Megazord just do a German suplex? And the cast of this movie, it's Zachary Montgomery, who was on Stranger Things. He was the Billy, the asshole brother.
How do you know who's in the movie? I'm just kidding.
RJ Cyler, who was great in The Harder They Fall, was the Blue Ranger.
Yes, the little black guy.
Becky G was the Yellow Ranger. Ludi Lin, who was Liu Kang in last year's Mortal Kombat, was the Black Ranger.
She was the one I forgot was in this film.
And Naomi Scott, who went on to be Princess Jasmine, and then was in the Charlie's Angels reboot, was the Pink Ranger. And those kids did not get the career they thought they were going to get, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's kind of
fucking sad. Bryan Cranston is Zordon, and Bill Hader, Barry, is Alpha 5.
Bryan Cranston played two different voice characters on the Power Ranger series in America. It was a full circle moment for him.
Next up, I won't spend too much time on this because that's what Banks vs. Davis is for. But when I tell you I loved it in the theater, I loved it, and that's The Fate of the Furious. The hat you have. F8, Fast 8. This is the Paul Walker-less one. This is Vin Diesel goes heel. This is Jason Statham now has to work with the family.
Oh, that's right.
My guy Scotty Eastwood is in the mix. Big Scott Eastwood guy. Scott Eastwood should have a bigger. Speaking of Olivia Munn, Scott Eastwood need better agents, but Scott Eastwood also has the nepotism of his father being Clint fucking Eastwood. So, but yeah, I mean, I like it for what it is. Has a great prison fight scene.
With the Rock,
women,
right?
The Rock and Jason Statham. Yeah. This was directed by F. Gary Gray. Shouts to him. Right after Straight Outta Compton, he was.
That's why I kept that hat, black man.
But yeah, I know I won't spend too much time on this, but
if I thought about it, I would have worn that hat today. Anyway,
I should have told you. Do you still have
I did
this movie? So this movie, I'll save this movie for also for a later date. But I've referenced this movie a lot on a BVD. One day, no, this movie coming up, right? Okay. Stars Charlie Hunnam, who I was a big fan of because of Sons of Anarchy. It's a movie I like to call Guy Ritchie's King Arthur: Legend of the Sword, which to me is legit a masterpiece of the 2010s. This was going to be Warner Brothers trying to do King Arthur, but as the MCU.
Weird.
But instead of it did bomb.
Yeah.
But what they realized it wasn't going to work, so they combined like all the scripts into one and then cut out a bunch of future stuff. Like there's no Lancelot, there's no Guinevere. There's a woman who we think might supposed to be Guinevere, but they just call her the mage. There's no Merlin except for like a mysterious figure who we knew as Merlin. Like they never show his face.
I remember
it's on
this.
Hulu. Watch it.
Because Jude Law's and I do remember. I remember this. I never saw it.
Was killing it in 2017 because he's great in this movie. Someone has a great comparison where like he's very Morrissey-esque, just sad, dour king. Why does no one love me? While being an evil piece of shit. But in 2017, Jude Law had the young Pope, and the young Pope was fucking great.
We all love the young Pope. That shit put me to sleep. That first episode. I'm not watching this.
But like I said, this Banks and I went to the movies we love that are considered rotten by Rotten Tomatoes, and this was on my list. But when we do Guy Ritchie versus Matthew Vaughn, that's probably when Banks will come over here and we'll have that debate because he slanders Guy Ritchie a lot. But Guy Ritchie, no pun intended, is my guy. There are some phenomenal bad CGI in this movie, but I love it.
I have no desire to ever see this film.
But watch it. It's on. If you have Hulu, watch it.
It didn't even. It was made 100. It was made for 175 million. It didn't even make that back. It did 148.
And I remember when I was doing my little blog shit the year prior, and this trailer dropped. I'm like, oh my god, why are they trying to make King Arthur Game of Thrones? Like, I was so just like over it. But then when I saw this is again going in with low expectations.
You have to.
Because then I left the theater. I'm like, that was great. What's everyone talking about? And I constantly rewatch this movie, whether it's on HBO, Netflix, it's on Hulu now. Like I said, whatever service it'll be on, I'll just watch it.
I can't do it.
A sequel to one of my favorite movies, which we've discussed prior. It's a sequel to me that I like. Definitely not better than the first, but I really like it. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Good film.
Great opening scene when we don't see the fight, but Groot's just dancing around to Mr. Blue Sky.
Maybe Groot's like my favorite part of the film.
Maybe Groot's the best part. When fucking Michael Rooker's Yondu just kills everyone with his arrow, and this is supposed to be a kid's film, but it's okay because
bodies are dropping and shit.
But it's set to a kid's song, so it's okay. I mean, a friendly song, so it's okay.
I pulled my shoe off during the interview that we did. I wish I had that on video still.
My guy, Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
You know, they DH him. He looked pretty good.
Looked better because he still could do the long hair.
He has a full head of great hair. Shout to him. And I'm again, much like I'm the only. I'll defend the MCU sequels if they're not Thor: The Dark World.
No, I like Volume 2. I like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. If you're talking about some of the better films, it's definitely on the better half of the MCU side, in my opinion.
And again, Batista, he has it.
Batista's great.
Especially him and Mantis, like the chemistry they build up.
Batista's amazing. He's a great actor.
A movie you referenced earlier in the show, Wonder Woman.
My wife
I like
loves
the first Wonder Woman.
Yeah, it's good. It's a better film.
84 is garbage.
I'm not
just like
84 felt it was too long and the story was dumb.
The whole thing was bad. The action, the story, the comedy, throw the whole thing away.
Throw the whole movie away.
Again, this movie was, Captain America, the first Avenger, basically, like set during the war. Steve Trevor would sacrifice himself to save the world, like Captain America does. I mean, but not in a negative way. And again, this movie is legit about a man, like all of us would, like falling in love with Gal Gadot, and like, like it's the most realistic comic book movie ever made in that aspect. I'm like, he's like, am I the only man on this island? The comedy is pretty good in this one.
Yeah.
Her in No Man's Land, when she goes and crosses that's a good set piece. It does have like a kind of a bad ending where like I was Aries all along.
Shit with her and Aries it gets really dumb after a while.
Yeah, that's when it's like, oh, you see why this movie has 4 screenwriters.
Right. Yeah, it's too much. As the movie got on, I didn't like it as much, but overall, I enjoyed Wonder Woman.
Next up, a huge bomb. Speaking about universes and collapsing, this is the first Tom Cruise film I've ever seen in the theater too. The Mummy.
Wow. Oof.
Rough. I was hyped for this movie because I was like, I think I said this last week. I was into what Universal was going to do with the monster films in terms of like, let's combine. Like again, maybe that's why I'm so cynical about the Russo brothers' idea for the Citadel show about like these spies. The Citadel show is supposed to be these spies from all these countries coming together for one show and then having their own show in the future in their own countries. And on DVD, they're just like, don't do that. Learn the lessons from the Dark Universe. Learn the lessons from the DCEU. Like, plan.
So it's going to be like a Spanish person, and then like they're going to have like a
Italy
show.
Italy, Mexico.
But they're legit. It's going to be a show about that person.
The show is Jason Bourne because Richard Madden plays an amnesiac who doesn't know what he's done previously, but he's a spy. I'm like, they made this 40 years or whatever the book was written. Like,
I have to look. I did not realize.
But the Mummy, that was like the first time. BVS, I'm like, there was at least some good stuff that was keeping my attention. But the Mummy, I think, was the first time. Like, as I'm in the theater, I'm like, oh, this is like bad. And it's
made you went to see this. You saw this trailer. And you were like,
yes. I was hyped. And it was, like I said, Tom Cruise, and a legend, favorite of mine. This is the first film. I didn't see Rogue Nation in 2015. I'm stupid.
Yeah, you fucked up.
But this movie, I can't believe this movie was so divisive among critics in 2017. I loved it then. I rewatched it recently, still love it. Edgar Wright's Baby Driver.
Yeah, they are definitely split on Baby Driver.
You don't like it either, I bet, huh?
I did not care. I didn't see Baby Driver. I did not care. I didn't get a screening for it, and I never ended up watching it. I didn't care.
Great car chases. Great John Hamm performance. Great Jamie Foxx is like, I'm a villain, and I'm a fucking villain. Like, unfortunately, this movie has Kevin Spacey and Ansel Elgort.
Oh, that's right.
And I already disliked Ansel Elgort when he was cast in this movie.
That's the reason why I didn't watch it.
Before, because this stuff about him came out, I think, sometime 2 years ago. But like, he already just had like that douchebag look and feel.
He's a dickhead, yeah.
And this was another movie where I'm like, a getaway driver who listens to music while driving. I'm like, is Edgar Wright reading my dreams? Like, I came up with this idea. I swear I came up with this idea.
Everybody came up with this. It's called Drive.
Yeah. No, if you watch Baby Driver first.
And then watch Drive?
He gets out of prison at the end of Baby Driver. It could easily fast forward to him with the fucking scorpion satin jacket.
Right.
And he's now the coolest man on earth, Ryan Gosling. And now instead, like,
terrible.
It could work. I'm gonna do my favorite like heists, thefts, robberies, and car chases. The opening car chase in Baby Driver is one of them. The opening car chase in Drive is another one. But Belly, the first 4 minutes of Belly has one of the best robberies ever.
Do I remember the robbery?
Yeah, it's the
Do
they
I
show up in
remember?
the club. It has the black lights. They're wearing the contacts. It's
All right.
how
This
do you want it?
no, all
It's
right, all right. This is the thing, Drip. When I watch the first 4 minutes of Belly, I'm listening to that acapella song with the black light, with the dancers, and Nas just being like, yeah, yeah. I know people are running into bathrooms. I know stuff is going on. I do not remember and I remember after the fact because they're with the spoils of war.
they take silencers out the toilet, shoot a man, and just take the fucking cash. And I'm like,
I don't
let's
remember the
fucking
robbery.
go. Like, I mean, a robbery like that, just like a real, like, you know.
And when Hype Williams was at Complex Con, when that movie had I actually wrote something about that that year.
The rest of the movie, unfortunately for Belly, is just.
It was his first film. He wrote it and directed it. They're not great at. They're like first timers. A lot.
No, but you see, like, oh, this would have been the greatest music video of all time for the first 4 minutes.
He was I mean, he was inspired. A couple of things. He was inspired by auteurs, but he was working within a medium where, like, Moonlight hadn't come out yet to show you how to properly shoot black skin. So he's doing things like literally making people apply certain like oils on their skin. Like Nas talked about being pissed about having all the oil.
The first 4 minutes are great. The first 20 minutes are good too when they're in the house, and his framing techniques too.
Yeah.
And again, the way these rooms are designed, they're either all white or, like, again, that shiny black tile. The light's super blue.
Right.
But then, like, it really goes downhill after that. But the first 4 minutes is just pure
classic moments.
Baby Driver, like
Baby Driver. Belly greater than sign Baby Driver.
No. Don't disrespect Edgar Wright.
Don't disrespect
Hype Williams.
Hype Williams and black artistry. I appreciate Belly more than I actually like it as a film. But there's a lot of great. Anyway,
it is one of those, like, damn.
If he had a better writer,
better everything, because, like, you got the talent, but, like,
but I'm saying if that story was actually better written, I think he would have been able to turn it into something even more memorable. But anyway.
Spider-Man: Homecoming. Just beautiful. Tom Holland had sold me the year before. I was all in. This is a real Spider-Man in high school movie. The Ferris Bueller homage when he's running because there are no things for him to web to swing through because he's in the middle of the suburbs. There's a great scene where he shoots the. It's like, damn it! He just has to run. He literally runs across the lawn. The romance of him and Laura Harrier, and the great reveal that Michael Keaton's her father, and the scene in the car when he's like, I know you're Spider-Man now because she just told me you are without her even knowing. Has one of my favorite scenes of all time, especially of that year when he's trapped under the rubble and he hears the voices in it and he sees the reflection and it's half his face, half the mask. He's like, get up, Spider-Man, get up. And I'm just like, it's like Creed to me when he's knocked out and he gets the visions. I'm a sucker for any time someone's like knocked out. There's a scene like this in King Arthur: Legend of the Sword, and they are revived because their loved ones are speaking to them. Obi-Wan had this when he's getting his ass kicked by fucking Darth Vader, and then it's like Obi-Wan, and he just gets up, and that's when he's like, all right, I'm fucking like, I'm showing you who's who, Anakin. Like, but Spider-Man, you can't spend this. I actually still think this is the best Spider-Man film overall. As much as I love No Way Home, this to me is the best one because it encapsulates what Spider-Man's supposed to be. The shy guy has these powers. He's more cocky when he has the suit on. It's the dual personality, and everyone's great in this movie. Like,
I prefer Tom Holland as teenage Spider-Man over Tobey Maguire's adult Spider-Man, even in the previous trilogy. But I think he did he's my favorite Spider-Man, even though I know the world loves Tobey.
This is the movie I name dropped with at the end of our episode this week. And this is when Matt. However, so I saw Dunkirk. I saw Dunkirk with my grandmother first.
Wow.
At this time, I'm living with my grandma. Her and I. Oh, you know what? I skipped.
What'd you
Oh,
skip?
no, it's after. It's after.
Okay.
I get an apartment with my grandma to start learning how to live on my own in a way. Her and I split the rent and all that.
Sure.
So that way I can get my own apartment in the future, kind of know like what's life like with actual bills,
Right,
and
right.
all of that. And she had this apartment where I could get in easily and all that. So her and I were roommates for 2017 through 2019. But this is Big Mike's mother, my
Right.
main grandma. Yeah, so Dunkirk. I'll get into Dunkirk the second time, but I moved in with her. We moved in together right at Baby Driver, I believe. No, right after Baby Driver, because that was the last movie I saw while I was living with my parents. Then I moved out of there, even though the apartment was 5 minutes away from my parents' house.
Hey man, you got a key. You got somewhere else to go. Yeah.
Atomic Blonde I saw after Dunkirk.
Oh.
Atomic Blonde, female John Wick, same year as John Wick Chapter 2. I say it's probably better than the first John Wick.
I like the first John Wick more. I like that sequence towards the end. That was like
there's a whole sequence in the middle that's supposed to be like our one or her on the run.
Yeah, that's a great.
I think this one's better than the first John Wick because I thought David Leitch, who didn't get credit for John Wick 1, directed this solo, and he had the more style and more comedy chops. I think Chad Stahelski's better at the sequences.
Right.
Not saying that he's not an auteur as well, because there are some great shots in John Wick and the visuals as well. But David Leitch then goes on to do movies I'll talk about later. But he just did Bullet Train, and as you and I discussed, his style is more comedy, and just the way his cinematography is like super bright, and kind of the way these colors are muted at times and then not. But Atomic Blonde, watch it if you haven't seen it. Highly recommend it. But if you were like, a big year for Charlize Theron. She was the villain in Fate of the Furious, and she's in Atomic Blonde. And
McAvoy as well.
James McAvoy is great in this movie. I
got tired of that story. I think is what because this movie is. I feel like this movie's a little longer.
I think it's actually short, but it is something where it's like
as long as fuck.
I think they stretched out more than they had because it was based off a comic too, like a graphic novel.
I got bored.
Like, yeah, I can understand that, but it's it's in the vein of like solid action, like really good action, and like simple spy story. Who can you trust? Who can you not trust?
Right.
100%. And ironically enough, my hair's not as blonde as it was 2 months ago, but I was the Atomic Blonde when I dyed this hair. So I saw Dunkirk a second time. I saw this time with the woman who was the first love of my life. And this is when you and Matt had said, like, you took a date to see Dunkirk. This was our second date.
I couldn't believe that.
There was nothing going on in terms of like the movies. Like, she's like, let's see a movie. And we saw in her town, and there was only like 6 movies playing. If I can remember, it was this, The Dark Tower, that Matthew McConaughey, Idris Elba, Stephen King book movie.
I know, and that movie is
the Emoji Movie.
You didn't go see that with me?
One other movie, I can't remember. But it was sparse. And I'm like, I've seen this movie. It's really good. Even though like I saw this with this. So what was the first movie you saw with your wife that you can remember in the theater?
That I can remember. Fuck, we're talking 20-some years ago. We don't go to the movies a lot. It was probably
an early one that you can recall, or something that's along the veins of like scaring the women, as Matt would say. Even though you say like she likes action.
See, this is the thing. We probably watched more movies at home than we did in the theaters. The first time we had a scare in the hose moment when her coworker, a guy and his wife, came over to the house. We were gonna have dinner and everything. We were having dinner, and he's a big fan of Goodfellas. I'm a fan of Goodfellas, but he was like a very big fan of Goodfellas. But he's a Christian, and his wife was like a very, very, very Christian.
Oh,
And
whoa.
and like my wife wasn't into that stuff, but they wanted to put the movie on, so they put the movie on, and you could just tell, like, yeah, they're not into. I don't even know if we finished Goodfellas that night. We may have done an hour.
So you're basically just gloating that you're lucky enough to have a wife who liked the same movies.
Well,
you did.
she gets into action films. When you get into like the mob and stuff, like she never
You
watched.
didn't take her to see like
No.
Scream 2 or
My
that's
wife-
two. That's two.
that's-
William.
My wife's not into any. My wife's not into horror.
So you didn't even do like the asshole thing of like I'm dragging you to see this. We'll get to that a little bit later.
The stuff that I'll watch what she likes, and there's stuff that we like together. But I watch some shit that I know she's not gonna like, so I take care of that viewing elsewhere. I don't even subject her to that stuff because
See, I had a lot to learn because this was first for a lot of things with this woman. So I had to learn. But I'm like, Dunkirk's a good movie. Like my grandmother liked it. Like I'm like, it's a beautiful movie about war and the survival of war. And
in that film. Damn.
Yeah. I don't know. Now I'm legit like, now it's
strike one. That's strike one. Strike two.
It's about British dudes. Tom Hardy flies a real fucking plane and then he sets it on fire at the end. And one of the most beautiful visuals I've ever seen.
You just said 4 things they don't care about.
And like I said, this woman would be the first woman who loved me and I loved. And then we saw it together.
The first one, chapter.
Yes.
Nice.
We were supposed to see it a night prior, but she didn't have her ID and they wouldn't let us in.
Oh,
very like strict. The next day we went back, they didn't ask for our ID.
Because that movie's fucked though. Like there's a lot of shit in that movie.
No, but it was just like
that's weird. That's weird that they didn't ask the next day. But
yeah, I don't know. That's because it was night versus afternoon.
Was this when it was coming out?
Yes.
Maybe they wanted to make sure that the numbers were accurate for opening weekend or something. I don't know.
She had just turned 19. I was 22, so
I don't know. I don't fucking know.
But she only wanted. I think she wanted to see it more than this. Is like you're supposed to take dates really to horror movies. I wasn't really looking forward to it. The first scene is like, oh shit, he bites a kid's arm off. Like,
you'll float too, head ass.
The whole movie though, I'm like, this is well made in terms of like visuals, but I don't like it that much.
Right, I can understand that. It's a long. Those are long films,
and it was long. Fuck, it was. I've never seen part 2 because of that.
Part two is. Part 1's better than part 2, but part 2 is
and that's another reason why I haven't seen it. When I think I was getting, might have been when I was getting this tattoo. The guy's like, "Have you seen it too yet?" And I'm like, "No." He's like, "You gotta go see it." And I'm like,
"Fuck you!" Just finish my tattoo.
No, I'm just like, I don't want to see it,
right? Because
I've seen it one. Like,
yeah, those movies are fucked.
These like the kids have a rock fight in the middle. I'm like, are we watching a comedy now? Like,
two's deep because it goes back to the past. It is in the present, and he's fucking with them in both.
Yeah, times. That's another reason I was like, can we just you cast good actors to play the adults? Why did we have to go back to the kids?
But that's how, because that's how the book is though. Like that's how
and there was stuff that I know they cut out of the book that definitely didn't need to be in.
Yeah, there's too much. The book was like 18 years long to read.
So now I'm getting into. I have company for these movies because I dragged this poor woman. Who's officially my girlfriend at this time. These were just date movies prior, but now she's my girlfriend.
So she has to go.
Because I'm like, Kingsman: The Golden Circle is coming out this weekend, and I want to see it.
She would watch the films, or was she on her phone?
In the theater? Come on. She's not going to be disrespectful like that.
I'm just asking.
I had prepped her a night or two prior to with Kingsman: The Secret Service.
Is she like that?
I don't think she liked either, but I'm like, it's so, and I'm like, I'm a big Kingsman: The Golden Circle defender.
Right.
Great. We're recording this with Cash to the Castle. Seth Rollins dressed like Elton John. Great Elton John cameo. And not even a cameo, basically a supporting role in The Golden Circle. One of my favorite scenes. She did like this scene when he just tells like, fuck off. Get the fuck out. It's a great scene. Channing Tatum's in this movie for 5 minutes. I thought he was going to be in it for more. Pedro Pascal steals the show, and then he would become the Mandalorian.
He's a good actor.
Big fan of this franchise. Has a great sequence at the end set to Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting, but he changes it to Wednesday because it's Elton John singing, and it's like Wednesday. I love the King again. Matthew Vaughn, Guy Ritchie episode coming soon. I'll talk about it more there. But yeah, this poor woman who at this time that was officially my girlfriend got dragged to that, but she didn't get dragged to two Goslings in 1 year. Blade Runner 2049, Khal. Denis Villeneuve, Roger Deakins, cinematography. Khal, that's all this movie is just beautiful.
Nobody cared. Nobody cared about this movie at all.
No, I don't. I just want to watch this movie in silence because it's just beautiful to look at.
Nobody went to go see it.
It's a movie where Gosling fights, but I went to see it. I paid my money to go see it.
I was on a press trip when there was something going on. There might have been a trailer, or somebody may have seen the film. I think there might have been a screening for the film, and the people on the press trip were the people who would have been for the audience of Blade Runner 2049, and they were saying, I don't know who's going to see this film. The first film was
it's not made for anyone. Yeah.
The first film's a cult classic. It took a while for that film to become a cult classic, and there's like 18 different versions of the film.
Speaking of extended cuts,
I've got a documentary that may be like 4 hours long, just talking about the journey that this film is having with all these cuts. So if the people who are supposed to be the ones that would have the nostalgia for this film don't give a shit about this film, cinematography, fucking Ana de Armas is all huge and as a computer generated whatever and great stuff. Nobody can. You dragged a woman to see this film?
No. I said I saw this on my own. No.
Good. Good, because you really.
I was doing the Hollywood one for you, one for me.
Facts, big facts.
Like you said, I had probably seen the first Blade Runner twice before in my life.
Right.
That was cool. But it was Gosling not saying shit with this dope jacket. It was Denis Villeneuve off Sicario. I had seen Prisoners by that point. I had seen Arrival, even though I hadn't seen it in the theater.
Right.
I was all in on Denis, and it was Roger Deakins, king of cinematography. Batista
was good. Batista was really good in this film.
A movie again I saw by myself. She didn't want to see it. And then afterwards, I'm like, you should have seen it with me. It was great. Thor Ragnarok. And I saw this, much like Get Out, late because I heard the reviews are good because of my initial. I'm like, I didn't. The first Thor's okay. I didn't see that in the theater. I skipped Thor: The Dark World in the theater. I'm not a fan of Thor.
Wow.
But in the trailers the whole time, I'm like, I don't like Thor. I don't like him, and I barely like him in the Avengers movies. No thanks. And then I kept hearing good reviews. I'm like, all right, let me go see this. And I was like, wow. They weren't selling me on Hulk versus Thor. I'm sorry, but again, I shouldn't say I should have trusted Taika Waititi because we've learned that lesson this summer.
Oh, and also we didn't know who the people. A lot of people didn't even know who the hell he was when this film really.
Exactly, it was made by the guy who did Hunt for the Wilder People. I'm like, what?
Yeah, nobody. You had to be a certain type of film snob to even seen that shit. Let them know what it was.
But Tessa Thompson just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Kate Blanchett, great MCU villain as Hela.
Yeah, I wish that they didn't kill her off.
That's the MCU problem.
Well, in the thing is, in the comics, Hela or Hell or Death
is supposed to seduce Thanos. Yes.
Yeah, that's the whole
that's
reason
his mission.
Doing it is he's trying to appease Death so he can die because
that's what life is, Khal. About pleasing women.
I told my homie about this because he was like, why should I give a fuck about Hela? And I'm like, if what they could do with the comics happens, they could turn Endgame into something else because it would be a whole and it's Kate Blanchett. Why would you pay for her for one film and then not?
That's why, because Kate Blanchett's like, I'm not doing more than one of these.
And then she died. I'm like, wow, they really could. They could, but Ego got killed. They're good at killing off. They're
even though I feel like Kurt Russell's the guy. I'll hang around for a bit. Yeah,
he probably asked him to come back, and he was like, he was fucking Santa Claus in 2 films.
great Bill Simmons podcast with Kurt Russell on it, where he talks about his career. Has one of my favorite moments someone's ever told on a podcast, where he's hungover after a night of drinking with his dad because he just signed his divorce papers. He shows up to an office where he's supposed to meet Goldie Hawn for the first time to do swing shift.
Right.
She walks in, he sees her, and he says like, he's like, I've seen Goldie Hawn. Like, I haven't seen Goldie Hawn.
Right.
And what puts out my mouth is, wow, you have a great figure. And she says, well, thank you. And she's like, you want to talk about the movie? He's like, yeah, let's talk about it. And then they went on a date.
And they've been dating.
And I'm just like, Kurt fucking Russ, like, wow. Like,
but Goldie was also a dime back then. Like she
no, but he's like, she's like, she wore like a tank top but with suspenders. It was a weird look, but I look at her, I'm just like he had never looked at her like that way. Like,
yeah, she was done.
But so Thor Ragnarok, I did have to drag my girlfriend to see this because it was Justice League. It was a mistake. She fell asleep halfway through. I wish I had fallen asleep.
Right.
We're not going to spend too much time talking about what should be known as Joss Whedon's Justice League.
Yeah. They fucked that film
And then
all
I end 2017 by myself because again she didn't like Star Wars, and this movie started to make me not like Star Wars, and that's The Last Jedi.
Yeah, a lot of people weren't fucking with that film at all.
It has its moments.
Yeah.
And it has a lot of shit moments.
Yeah. I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan, so I don't really care, but I can understand why people weren't a fan of that film.
Yeah, and this is when I start to get down on Star Wars a little bit, just in general. I'm like, maybe I'm not a kid anymore.
No,
maybe, but it's like, also maybe like, is this stuff not as good as I like? It's supposed to be.
I think at a certain point, the space opera about the guy who may have been kissing on his sister, who then inherits. Like at a certain point, it's too.
It is right about. It is correct about Luke Skywalker being a cynical asshole.
Yeah, yeah.
After having lived what he lived through, Rian Johnson was spot on with that. Like, why would I train you? Look what happens.
Right. Why
when I got like a robot arm, like nothing good.
Nothing can come from any of this. Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. It's really.
But then like the Snoke gets killed, and then it's
but I was gonna say, but because normally in these films, normally you get the master who comes back to impart the knowledge, so we can continue, because it's never about stopping. It's always about continuing the fight the good fight. You never get the guy who's like, man, look, I lost everything. Why the fuck would I want to get up in this shit? Why do I want to teach you how to get yourself involved so you could lose everything? It's probably not the best track for the series because people fucking hated it. They hated everything about everything. But I appreciate doing something different like that. I wasn't mad at it, but I get it. Y'all wanted fan service, so they didn't get that.
It's not just that, it's his mentality of there were questions supposed to be answered, but fuck those questions. We don't even need questions. And then J.J. Abrams has to come back. We'll get to that next week, though.
But do you, like, at a certain point, what, like, when you find out the thing,
make the standalone film is what he should have done, and that's what he will do once these Knives Out films are doing.
What I'm saying is, like, did you watch Lost?
No, only the first season, because my mom was really into Lost.
So you watched Lost. You saw the polar bear.
Yeah, but I also have a hard time remembering that show. Again, there was incest on that. That was his stepsister, though. But yeah,
the thing is, Drip, they wrote a polar bear on a tropical island to show you that this island's got shit that doesn't normally happen. Polar bears don't exist on these islands, and this thing was running around crazy. People got so hype about the polar bear that they wanted to know more about that than anything else. And if once you get that answer and it has nothing to do with the story they're telling, then what? Yeah. Who cares who Ray's parents are? The shit.
Well, that's when we come. No, I'm not just saying that. Just like, well, that's when we get to like conspiracy theories or fan. That's.
But a lot
of our own culture because we
Exactly, because
but then us. What are we gonna do, Cal? If we're not here to talk about stuff like that. Like,
the thing is we live in such it's such a reactive hot take culture, and that's what sells. Being pissed off because you wanted the Star Wars films to feature this thing, so you're going to come up with all these conspiracy theories as to why Disney or Johnson or anybody didn't do what they wanted to do. At a certain point, you're taking the fun out of the fucking movie. Like the movie, either the movie's good or bad, either they made a good or bad decision. It's a different world right now because they've got Disney Plus, and like you said earlier, their series for Star Wars have been kicking the ass of the film.
Except Book of Boba Fett. Book of Boba Fett. Yeah.
2 out of 3, 3 out of 4, whatever the situation is. Maybe that's the track that they need to do. Maybe they needed to fuck up A Last Jedi to realize, damn, the shit we want to tell can be told in these series, and then we can, when we figure out the films, we can then do whatever we need to do. But let's give the hardcores, let's give the fans what they want with these shows that at a certain point they're just sucking their own dick at a certain point. Like, yeah, we get to see Boba Fett do the thing, and then it's Mandalorian, then he does the thing again. It's like, cool. Now, like, tell it, like, give me something. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, that's it. The whole point of Book of Boba Fett was like, he survived.
We get to find out what he was doing. It's not that exciting.
Yeah. No, like him learning with the Tuskens, it's like
nobody cared. Nobody cared. As
had
much,
some cool moments, but it was like, yeah, we got it. We get it.
Return of the Jedi came out in 85. I was like 3 or 4 years old. 84?
85, yeah, let me double check.
I was a child when that film came out. I'm aging myself right now. As long as
83.
83. I was probably still in Pampers. Since I was almost 2 years old, people have been talking about, we want the Boba Fett thing. They Jango Fett, and they reference him in the book and this other shit. They've been trying to get the Boba Fett thing for years, and then they get it, and it's trash. Maybe you should stop worrying about the things that they're not feeding you because they're not worried about it themselves, because they had to make a Boba Fett story to give y'all the shit, and then y'all got the shit and you didn't even fucking watch it because the shit was ass, because y'all was ass. It's like pro wrestling fans. It's the same.
Yeah. Oh no, it's the same thing. But, we move on to 2018, and I'm with this woman for the entirety of 2018. I saw this movie by myself though.
Oh.
Thursday night showing a little film called Black Panther.
Oh, I love that film.
And then her and I see it 2 times.
Good.
So I saw it 3 times.
It's a good
theaters.
It's a good theater film.
She had wanted to see it, but we'd mainly be together on the weekends. But like I saw it Thursday. I'm like, babe, we got to see this movie. I'm like, I know you're looking forward to it. And I think in the run up to Endgame, she had only seen a few. Infinity War, I should say. She had only seen a few Marvel movies, and then we started watching them together.
He just
what a movie! What a
R.I.P. Chadwick Boseman. Today, they were recording. He won a posthumous Emmy, a Creative Arts Emmy, for his final role as a Black Panther in the What If episode when he did the voice acting. He won an Emmy for that today.
We won't spend too much time on it now because we definitely not on here, but
we're going to have an episode for it. The sequel.
We on BRP will be talking about Wakanda Forever and the first Black Panther as a whole on Patreon, I assume.
We should probably do it for White Noise. I mean, it's coming out in November.
True, but I think we could get some other people involved too. Hopefully,
we can't.
But I mean,
I can't take. It can't be a Black Noise episode. And we have a couple of black.
Well, I'm saying we got to go to. I say we got to go to Black Wrestling Podcast Club. We can.
I mean, maybe, but
you sure?
Well, only.
Right. I'm just saying the optics. I always have to watch my back now with.
Only because, well, I produced the show. The one time again,
they're saying though the white man makes him produce the show. Like
nah, but the one time
he makes the white man do the like.
The blackest episode of White Noise is going to be Black Noise, and it's going to be a couple of other black people, maybe Fam. I don't know.
mean,
Maybe we have Fam, and we have Lord Vader come back.
Sham
And
has to come back. He had sent me something earlier this week that was like an MCU theory. He was like, "I'm trying to tell you, Drip."
we may need to
again
get for Black Noise.
What a movie! What a soundtrack! What performances by everyone! Michael B. Jordan, one of my favorite performances. We'll really break it down.
We'll talk.
So like I said, I saw it by myself the Thursday night. We saw it a few days later, and then she's like, "We got to see it another time." A few weeks after that,
right?
I got pulled over the next day after we saw it the second time.
Maybe we do a rewatch of Black Panther for the Black.
I thought about that. Are you interested in doing a commentary track?
We could do a Black Wrestling Podcast Club watch along with Black Panther, and because it'll be on Vimeo, we could do the video. We'll test it. We'll see what happens.
I actually own, because this woman surprised me one day with Spider-Man: Homecoming and Black Panther on Blu-ray. Just like a random gift she had gotten me, and I was like, "Wow,
damn,
wow,
you got hooked up."
And then the next movie, again, we saw this together because she was kind of a gamer. I was a little bit interested in it, but Ready Player One.
I saw this. I wasn't.
You weren't impressed?
No, I saw it. I didn't see this in theaters. My son wanted to watch it, so I watched with him. I was good.
I remember this night vividly for other reasons, but I liked Ready Player One.
It was cool. People love the book.
I never read the book, and I know this is supposed to be like this whole pop culture nerd, like the real Forbidden Door is Ready Player One, to be honest, because they enter the Shining Hotel while Optimus Prime shows up. Cool concept. I like it. I haven't watched it in, I don't think, since.
Yeah, I've not watched it.
But very Spielbergian. Like at the end, a crowd of people, he puts his fist up in the air and everyone cheers. And I told her that that's how Steven Spielberg movies end. Because again, I had said this, I think, for work. I am the guy who's like, that's this. But no, she had wanted to see this. It was something like when, are we gonna go to the movies, or are we gonna just stay home, like you said, and watch movies here or watch TV? Like when you date someone for an extended period of time, it's like, what are we doing? Let's go out and see something. And we then saw A Quiet Place, because that was a horror movie, and I was like, let's go see A Quiet Place. I think this will be good, and it was
very good.
Again, you have to be quiet in that theater.
I was gonna say because it's a film where the idea is you want to be as quiet as possible. So it's to the point where there's a lot of American Sign Language in it.
When I have to grab my drink, I'm trying to be like.
But it's so in theater, because they say that I wanted to see the second one because they said they made it specifically for.
I have a story about the second one next week.
The audio, it really sounds crispy.
It sounds quiet. Yeah.
Damn. I'm pissed I didn't see that in theaters. I really like that film.
Yeah, I was shocked. And I think we also, because she liked The Office, or we were rewatching The Office, and obviously John Krasinski, writer, director, star of A Quiet Place, with his wife Emily Blunt.
Low key killing it in Hollywood. Don't test that.
He has this movie coming out called If. It sounds horrible.
Ryan Reynolds. I think they just added somebody else.
Yes. Yeah. I looked. He had posted an image. I'm like, this is your next movie. I'm like, let me look up. And I'm like, what a cast! And imagination.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah. One day my wife was, because my wife's into whatever the show that he has on Amazon Prime.
Jack Ryan.
Right, she loves that show. Whenever she was wanting to know when season 3 was coming out.
Shocks me.
I'm saying she's
got to get her on White Noise.
She's big into action. She wanted to know.
We're gonna get her on BBD action. She's gonna.
I'm not subjected to YouTube.
Miss Khal, have you ever seen a movie called SWAT?
No, she's not watching it. Actually, did she watch? She may have seen bits of SWAT. It may have been on one, but she ain't watching that shit like that. But nah, she wanted to know when season 3 of when Jack Ryan was coming out.
It's probably
like,
on pause.
I was going to say it right now. It wasn't nothing. I was looking at the other projects he had, and that shit.
I
was
don't
like,
think it got canceled. I think they're just on his time.
well, because I don't know if they shoot on location, but like there's a lot that goes.
And there was the potential of Michael B. Jordan's Jack Clark,
Right.
no, John Clark teaming with John Krasinski's Jack Ryan, given how Without Remorse was an Amazon film.
But are they?
There's also a Tom Clancy
say,
character.
yeah, they're all Tom Clancy stuff too, so it wouldn't be that.
I never saw it, but in one of the Harrison Ford films, Willem Dafoe is the character that Michael B. Jordan played.
Yes. Yeah. He was a thing in cinema before, but they're supposed to be turning that Without Remorse.
Ryan, Rainbow Six is what's supposed to be.
Yeah, it was
first,
supposed to be Rainbow Six, so they were supposed to be. That was a setup for it. I don't know what they're doing. He's working on Creed right now. Creed 3.
It's 2018. You know what came out in 2018? That's how we'll end this week's episode. But a movie I saw by myself. Just again Thursday night showing, but this woman came with me to see it because it's like, babe, I can't wait. I gotta see it, and that's Infinity War. So I knew. So taking her to see it, knowing what was gonna happen, the whole time I'm just like,
damn.
Because I was like, what happens? But Matt Damon has the best reaction to. Khal, did you know what happened in this? They took him away.
Because he
showed up. He was kicking at, and where he at? He was so bad. You and Sam were like, we weren't gonna say nothing, and that was the thing because
we would have conversations on Polo, like we can't. That's why me
dude Thanos.
It was always Thanos. But that's why me and Fam had to start talking on the side about this shit.
Side glide. Yeah, no, that's an old. 2017. I forgot to say. Big year for me. Big year for BRP. Founded late January. Black Announce Table also founded because I would drive to my job, listen to Black Announce Table, go see these movies later in the night probably. And then Infinity War, lived up to the hype. The best crossover event in anything. It was the best episode of TV ever made.
Best MCU villain.
Oh, no doubt.
Killmonger's cool. Killmonger's cool.
All right, cool versus but don't. I mean,
Thanos got
how he says, "You ain't the son of a king, you're the son of a murderer." Like, come on, like.
All I'm saying is Killmonger.
He throws this man over a waterfall.
Killmonger got to live his desire for a little bit. Thanos took out half of the galaxy.
Yeah.
Like this.
Yeah.
Not really, because there was a lot of bloodshed but he took out his surrogate daughter. He took out he threw a whole planet on Iron Man.
The whole some great seeing the Guardians interact with the Avengers.
The whole battle of Titan is hard. The whole battle.
What master do you serve? What am I supposed to say? Jesus. What do you guys do? Take names, kick ass. Kick ass. No, kick names, take ass, or whatever she says. Like she flips it, and that's where it's like, oh, we're fucked.
Yeah, we're fucked. That's when you realize.
Don't call us plucky.
Star-Lord. Star-Lord's the biggest douche by the end of that. I hated him.
That was the thing too. She was like, and I was trying to be like, but listen. I love you. If someone says you're dead, I lose my shit too.
But this is the thing.
And what sucks is Spider-Man legit has it right here,
all the way off. But this is the thing. Someone in my life. I would need to. I would need to avenge them. You feel what I'm saying? Like the best way.
He's not an Avenger. He's a Guardian of the Galaxy.
What I'm saying is the best way to say, damn, you killed the love of my life. I'm going to help take away the one thing that you're willing to die for. So you can't. if Iron Man was able to grab that thing and say, "Snap Thanos the fuck out of here," and snap that he was gone, we
They
wouldn't have
probably
gotten
weren't even sure what he was gonna do with it. They're just like, we got. And that movie was like, we gotta get them stones. Like,
I love that film. I love it. I will watch Thor Ragnarok just to see the end,
the end.
where they see Thanos' ship coming, just so
Again,
I can
it opens and you're like,
yo, it's
whoa.
like we're fucked on this ship. Thanos,
Meanwhile,
he killed everybody, and he's just looking around like
on the ship version of
Thanos is roaming around
of Asgard. And then thinking it has, I mean, the Spider-Man fight with Doctor Strange and Iron Man and Central Park or whatever, and then they get the dude, you embarrass me in front of the Wizards. The comedy in this is again the Russo brothers, Marcus and McFeely, the team behind the Gray Men were all on fire with this. And then fast forward 5 years later, where'd it go? What happened to the magic?
There's no Kevin Feige. It was peak.
That's Kevin Feige just like, you want this year to fucking get this shit. Like, you fucking, he was Triple H with the points. Like, I fucking made you. I made you. Look at Bianca Belair now. Look at Ricochet now. Look at, T'Challa. He's not even finished. But then, unfortunately, what happened. He's like, Ant-Man. You like Ant-Man? Ant-Man's fucking gonna come. Like,
he was ready. He knew what he was doing. Damn.
But yeah, I mean. But seeing her, she was so pissed, just like we all were. But me knowing beforehand and keeping it to myself, I just like.
Did you think you didn't think that they were going to come back?
No, I knew, because again I follow this stuff. I'm like, babe, they're coming back next year.
Because
they're making Black Panther 2 because this movie just made $1 billion 2 months ago. He's coming back. Spider-Man Far From Home was announced.
When Iron Man fake died in that film, I went to a screening, so it was a theater full of press.
Oh, you mean like when he stabs him and he's trying to heal himself? You think like he'd be going real death. Yeah.
When he goes with it, Thanos breaks it off and stabs him.
Again, the whole what even type of like
whatever the I forget
nanobot type of
the nanotechnology with the Iron Man,
and he just tries his best to fight this man one-on-one, and he's breaking out all the tricks, and Thanos is just like Gunter, just like.
He would, but Thanos respected it. He knew that he was.
Yeah.
He was. But
all that for a drop of blood. That's a pretty good Josh Brolin Thanos. I'm not gonna lie.
That was a good Brolin, great Thanos. But when Thanos takes,
he's Brand from the Goonies to me for always. Like
Christ,
Brand
stabs him in the stomach. So I don't know who the press guy was in the front. He was like, "No!"
I'm gonna be like, "Oh shit!" Like
word, like you know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But I think there was also that talk of,
and again, it ends Nick Fury with the pager and then Captain Marvel, and that's like, oh shit. When we get to Endgame next episode,
yeah, all the spoiler alert, Infinity War is the better film, but we'll get there.
It is. But I like Endgame a lot too.
Endgame solid.
Saw this with her. It was the last I was originally going to see it, but then she's like, "No, I'll see it with you." Deadpool 2. Made the mistake of missing out on Deadpool. I was not making the mistake of missing out on Deadpool 2, especially directed by Atomic Blonde's David Leitch. Mm-hmm. Thanos himself, Josh Brolin as Cable.
Yeah.
And Zazie Beetz as Domino.
Not as good as Infinity War.
No. But better than the first Deadpool. I'm a big Deadpool 2 over Deadpool guy.
I love the opening of Deadpool 2.
Again,
that whole opening sequence was dope to me.
Another amazing prison fight that is good, along with Fate of the Furious' prison fight. I love dubstep, and he just turns it on.
Yeah. Juggernaut is I think.
The kid is pretty funny.
I interviewed that. He's a whole Australian.
Yeah, and they would just throw fire at him.
What's the title of YT? The Hunt for the Winter.
Julian Dennison. Yeah, it
was cool.
Yeah, no, and again, the real shock of that movie is Morena Baccarin dying. That was I was shocked.
Yeah,
and it has the great opening credit scene, which is a James Bond ripoff. And the credits. someone who doesn't like to share the screen, obviously.
Right.
Like, and then like, wait, did they really kill her? Like,
They're good.
directed by the guy who killed John Wick's dog because it was David
Yeah.
Lynch. Great. That's when I'm like, see, this is better than the first one. No offense to the.
But the thing is
They had more money for Deadpool 2, so they made a better film
But you got to remember
and a better director.
Deadpool. The first Deadpool had to do two things. One, you had to establish Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool being it. Like they had to live up to the hype. But two, they had to also squeeze an origin story in there. So you're really getting
squeeze in X-Force, and then they're like, X-Force is X, which is a great
but
twist.
what I'm saying is you got the introduction to Deadpool and its origin in the first film. The second film, it was kind of like fast forwarding to now, because once you get to this Deadpool, this is the Deadpool that like blew up in the comics. He's breaking the fourth wall. He's referencing like the end sequence of this film references everything, literally from old Ryan Reynolds movies to fucking Hitler. It's everything is in there.
That was the thing. Yeah, him with the you finally made it, kid. Your biggest run. It's the Green Lantern script.
But it's
and they acknowledged like you said, the opening, they acknowledged Logan, fucking Wolverine, man. He's gotta go and die. First he rides my coattails, joining the army.
I think that
meanwhile he's an 800-year-old man. Like
the flip side is Deadpool and Cable in the comics have an iconic run. Before, actually, a little bit of comic book history. Before Deadpool got his how did it go? No, Deadpool had his own series. Very underrated, but it was the basis for some of what we're getting now. He was actually a lot more depressed. He was more depressed than Thanos was in terms of wanting to die, but not being able to die because of this fucking thing in his body. And there's a brilliant comic with him and Thanos going. They've actually met a couple of times, but Cable also had a solo comic book series, and they both ended at the same time. And what the geniuses at Marvel did was, I think Rob Liefeld was in it, they made Cable and Deadpool, where they in one of the comics, they basically when Cable would do his time shifting
or whatever,
somehow the mechanism got fucked up and he was linked with Deadpool. So they would Cable straight laced serious team with Deadpool, and I think
the weapon. Yeah,
they were like, were they saving the baby? There was some wild shit go. The Deadpool and Cable
I think
comic
always like saving the baby, or something like that. Because
it's so fucking hard. And then they made that movie, and they were like, we're gonna make the X-Force. We're gonna establish. We're gonna do 15 things, but they forgot to like also. I don't think the story in that
until Fox got bought out by Sony, they were playing. I think that was probably planned. To do the official,
it's one of those situations where I kind of wish
like
they'd approach
Tatum's Gambit movie that never got made.
Maybe instead of shoehorning Cable into a story that may not have necessarily needed him, because the story that they lifted for this kid was about it was about the time where in the comic books the Scarlet Witch said no more mutants, and there were no more. There were like 100
House of M, right?
Yeah. After House of M, the first mutant born was it had detrimental things in the future. So Cable was tasked with holding on to the baby, and Deadpool would link with him.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. Like they got very what's the John Woo movie? Not The Killer. Whichever one it is, or like it's Chow Yun-Fat and a baby, like he's got a gun in his hand. That's basically I know what Cable's like, but I mean this does have the great ending when he's like, "You saved me because you love me." like after he's like, "You did it for me." Heads, you did it for me. Tails, you did it for me. He flips it, you did it for me. Like because he shifts, he can only use the time shift like you said once. It plays it off well. Like your heart's not in the right place. It's a good also romantic comedy.
Did you see the Super Duper? I saw the Super Duper edition in theaters.
No, you mean the PG-13 version?
Yes.
No.
It's if you've seen the Princess Bride.
Of course, Cal. I have a. When I get to.
There's some people your age.
Didn't I just reference it recently?
I probably my wife referenced. Yeah. My wife referenced it today, but
I have a poster. It's not hanging of the Princess Bride that The second love of my life gave me that. That's next week's episode. So
The premise for the film is
the
essentially
Fred Savage as the kid from The Princess Bride. He's telling him the story of Deadpool, right? Or is it Fred Savage?
it's Deadpool kidnapping Fred Savage so he can
Okay.
tell him the story of Deadpool 2, like
Yeah.
Princess Bride, but he there's no cussing.
Yeah.
Which is funny.
See, because I almost thought about taking my stepbrothers to go see that, but I was like, I'm not going to go see it again.
Well, there's like a whole hanging dick or whatever, right? And that's in the
not Deadpool 2. I'm saying the PG-13 version. I almost thought about taking them to go see that.
Well, no, I was going. It's actually a PG-13. It's tamer, but like this shit with like because there's a scene with the dick or whatever
When
hanging.
The baby lakes.
Yeah, I believe they.
Which is still a funny visual.
They blur it, I think, in the PG-13 version.
Especially when he walks up to him like, "Come on, shake my hand." Like, come on.
Actually, the more I think about it, I did like Deadpool. I think it was the
Here we go. Come
I know
on,
it's
this
not
is like
that
when Mike Sempervive and I were trying to make you a Jay White fan. Like, you're like, you know what? This guy sounds pretty cool.
He sounds cool. I watched,
and then you're like, fuck that.
I think I like Deadpool 1 more than 2, but I think I like Deadpool 2 more than I remember.
Did you like or even see a movie called Solo, a Star Wars story, which I saw Solo?
I did. I went with.
Oh, you were big on Donald Glover as Lando Calrissian, huh?
No, I worked at where I worked at, so I had to make sure I knew what Donald Glover was phenomenal in this film. The rest of the film,
what comes out later this year? Robin season, my friend.
Oh, that's right. That's the thing. He was on fire that year. He was on fire, so I had to see what was going on.
He had This Is America that year, yeah.
I was writing about all this stuff.
I like Solo.
Really?
Has its good moments. Yeah. I like it a lot more than Rise of Skywalker and The Last Jedi, I'll say that. You can definitely tell there was a point when like Lord and Miller got shit canned and they brought in Ron Howard.
Right.
But there are some
dope
sequence. The opening speeder chase, the train heist.
Train heist is hard.
And then the Kessel Run, which makes you think, so that's what the Kessel Run is?
I don't remember the Kessel Run.
It's a good sequence about how they have to get away from this wormhole type thing.
I gotta rewatch. I remember the beginning. I don't remember much else.
But Alden are like just a bad choice as Han Solo, and he unfortunately hasn't done much since.
Awful.
Donald Glover isn't bad as Lando, but it's just like
he's one of the better parts of the film in my
opinion. But it's a thing too where
a little too hammy.
You can see that like Lord and Miller wanted to make their because then they directed 21 and 22 Jump Street, the Lego movie.
Yeah.
That's why that movie's so quippy and hammy. And then Kathleen Kennedy, who doesn't know how to run Lucasfilm, is like, no, and then brings in safe hand Ron Howard, and the movie's boring after.
They Michael K. Williams was supposed to be in this.
Then they replaced him with Paul Bettany of all people. But they said Michael K. Williams is supposed to play a CGI character anyway. I'm like, then why cast Michael K. Williams
in that role? They they had Lupita Nyong'o was a that one with the
don't
one.
Even get me started on that's just like we got to be, you know what? It's just when I was like, we got to be diverse.
She's
the voice of a character.
Maybe a week or two after that news with Michael K. Williams being announced that movie hit, he was coming to Complex. We were going to interview him on Keeping Up with Culture, the Facebook Live show that I did with a former coworker, and we're talking. I didn't know how much he was going to be able to say because it's a Star Wars property, and damn, RIP Michael K. Williams. Yeah. I say I don't know how much you can talk about this, but how are you feeling about getting cast in a Star Wars film? He was looking at me like, he's like, you almost gave me a heart attack. He's like, don't mess up the bag. I forget the way he worded it. It was because he couldn't say anything, and I think
man looked more like he should have been a bounty hunter, just throw a fucking laser gun on him.
So ready for Michael K. Williams in that role.
God damn it. He even actually could have been I like Woody Harrelson in that movie, but he actually should have been the Woody Harrelson mentor character.
He could have done he was so gifted. He could have been any one of those. Well, he probably wouldn't have been Han Solo, but he could have been a number of those characters and done well.
So I don't know how he's able to convince
Uh-oh.
this woman to see this movie, and I think I'm just like, hey, there's this horror movie coming out.
Nice.
It's called Hereditary.
You scared. You really scared the host that night.
I think she was into it, but it was also like
Until
what?
when?
Until the people in the theater started to laugh at the movie.
What were they laughing at?
Okay, this might have to be a whole separate thing. Next week I see Midsommar. We might have to save Ari Aster's films for another time.
Yeah.
But I think she liked it because I think she liked like it was legit dark and scary. But this movie's one of the best movies just ever made in terms of like how it transitions from the model house to the real life scenes.
It's done really well. What's your
when
favorite?
it's dark and you see people in the dark, like it does some cheap like jump scares that are like that work so well is what I'm saying.
A really great job with it. Yeah.
And I think like this movie does scare me, but like I think that's the thing where people are just like and I'm just
you had the wrong crowd for the film.
Yeah.
Damn, what a classic.
But yeah, I think I don't know how I convinced her. I'm like, again, like we're dating, like movie night. Do you want to go to the movies or stay home? She's like, well, what's that? I'm like, there's this horror movie I'm interested in. I think I showed her the trailer and she's like, yeah, let's go see that.
It looks interesting.
And then I'm like, and to me, I'm like, I also really don't know what to expect because like I'm not into horror. Like, even though I do like art house horror, I think I've told you this before. I am into like art house horror.
Like what?
Stuff like this.
Like this?
Like Hereditary, Quiet Place. It Follows.
Okay.
Get Out to me is art house horror.
You're next.
No.
You don't fuck with Your Next, okay?
No. I'm not into the fucking, even though Adam Wingard went on to make The Guest, which is really good.
Right.
He was part of that cult of that clique of normcore directors making movies for $10. Yeah, like nah.
Classic.
Yeah, this movie. Yeah. You love this movie, I bet.
I am a fan. Again, we'll be talking about Arias. I am not as big of a fan of these films as everybody else is. I really like
Midsommar is
Midsommar's
next week's. That's next week's.
Midsommar's fucked. I love the risks that he takes. I love the fact that he has original stories. I think at a certain point, and then they're a cult. Like, I hope that's not what happens in whatever.
Disappointments Boulevard with Joaquin Phoenix. That's the next movie.
Is there a cult in that?
Let me look up the. But
I was kind of disappointed when I realized that Midsommar was a spoiler alert.
We'll talk about it next week.
The old film, but yeah, I kind of got disappointed when I realized what was going on in that film because I felt like I just saw that from him. Unless that's his thing, where he's going to be exposing different realms and then there was a cult.
Okay, Disappointment Boulevard, a decade-spanning portrait of one of the most successful entrepreneurs of all time. So probably a cult.
It didn't say based off of a real person though.
No.
Oh, okay, so this is his. All right, yeah, maybe a cult, and then maybe it's like the Illuminati or something.
Yep, this is definitely what's his name?
It's probably gonna be
Epstein.
Hard.
It's an Epstein movie.
Oh shit! But it's Joaquin Phoenix, so he don't miss for the most part.
I ain't seen Joker. I ain't gonna see Joker.
He's the best part of Joker, and that can't even be a surprise. I mean, he's a great actor, especially embodying roles. But that's not a film that I really rock with at all.
But no, and we ran back Hereditary, I believe, when it was available to rent or when it was on like an HBO or whatever. I think she liked the movie, is what I'm saying. Like, I think she did like horror movies more than me.
Right.
I think it's that thing where like you want to be scared, really. And I would do like I'd fake like, yeah, it's her. I do like Hereditary though.
I like Hereditary more than Midsommar as well.
Yes, yeah, that's an easy. Yeah. She wanted to see this. I was so pissed 10 minutes in. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom.
Awful.
She wanted this, and that's sort of like in my mind, I'm like, that's why I don't let you pick the movies. Like
Snob over here.
legit. This is when I'm like, because there was a baby crying like 10 minutes in, and 20 minutes in, I'm like, oh, this movie's bad, and I know it's not gonna get good. Oh God. And I did see the first Jurassic World in 2015. And I actually like the first Jurassic World. No, I saw it later. I mean, in theaters in 2015. I saw it when it was online in 2015, and I'm like, damn, I just saw that in the theater. It was great.
It's the best of that trilogy.
I won't see this new things I just talked about today. I'm like, it's on Peacock. I'm not seeing it. Ant-Man and the Wasp. She and I saw this together because we were on that MCU run. Another good MCU sequel.
Good film. Not great, but
no, definitely not better than the first one. But shout out to our guy Paul Rudd.
Yeah,
killing it. Will always be killing it because he'll never age.
I saw him live. I did a set visit for this. I got to see the house that they used to or the set
slide.
I saw the slide. It was
before,
outdoor set, and then we got to see like the blown up version of some of the shit in that thing that they like their Hank Pym's lab or whatever. We got to like go through.
I do like the he's on house arrest and he just has to make it more days and get back in time and
smart.
Where were you, Scott? I've been here the whole time. What do you mean? Like, I kind of like running bits like that. And
films have a good pacing too. They're very
great.
fast.
Yeah.
Right?
It's Paul Rudd.
It's Paul Rudd. Yeah.
Paul Rudd, come on away. John Bernthal and Paul Rudd, come on, at the same time. Let's just.
I wonder what world we would come on our Patreon show.
Rudd seems like a good hang, like a good guy to talk to. But yeah, sure.
You
saw him on Hot Ones. He was like, yeah.
The pop culture spinoff of our pro wrestling podcast, Paul Rudd.
Yeah, he grew up in Kansas City. He's like, yeah, I used to see Harley race back in the day. Yeah.
I'll say this, Paul Rudd. If you come on the Black Wrestling Podcast, we can do the bit where we play the Mac and clip. I don't care. I'll play it right now.
I thought you meant like we can do the look at us.
Look at us.
No, but you're saying he plays the Mac and Me clip. I like Ant-Man and the Wasp. Say Deadpool 2 and Ant-Man and the Wasp have two random Minnesota shout outs in the movies. This woman, I saw them in the theater and I looked at her like,
yeah,
what's going on? No, I was legit scared. I'm like, is this just the Minnesota version or is it like this?
It's the Minnesota remix. Mick Foley cutting those promos before every town. Yeah.
Dead ass. A movie I've spoken about before. I want to say this when you can try and get the Summer Man on. Mission Impossible Fallout.
Okay.
Fucking banger.
Yeah. All those movies are phenomenal.
Yeah. Like I said, if you can bribe or convince the Summer Man to sit and talk.
Never say never, but I'll be very surprised.
Yeah. But no, I mean, this is the best made one.
Mm-hmm.
It's my second favorite, but Henry Cavill as a villain, great cast, and it has the free falling halo jump, the fight scene in the bathroom, obviously, great chase scene on a motorcycle, then in a car, and then Tom Cruise just flies a helicopter and chases another helicopter. Like, what do you want from movies? Huh?
Much better than Batman vs Superman. Dawn of Justice.
Oh yeah, and then this is when I try to be good big brother. I take my two stepbrothers to go see Venom. They loved it, especially my youngest. And as I'm watching, I'm like, this movie is made for them.
Yes.
And assholes like me are like, the fuck are you doing?
No, it's not. What was the headline of me and Fraser's review? Venom was terrible. I loved it.
Unless you're 13.
My son. My mom, I didn't end up taking Jaden to see Venom. We just weren't able to do it. My mom took him and my cousin's son, and she hated it, but they fucking loved it.
I hated it. I dropped them back off at home, and I was like, "How was the movie?" I'm like, "They loved it. I hated it."
And
my dad's like, "Now you know what it's like."
Tom Hardy committing to playing Venom,
and that's what pisses me off more, because he was all in, and I'm like, Tom Hardy.
All in.
you have made great films like Warrior, great films like Locke. You've been a key figure in Chris Nolan films, and you're like, I want to go full New Yorker. Like, I'm from New York, but I'm in the Bay Area, and I got this alien who's talking to me. I'm just fucking going crazy, and this movie looks like it was made in 2 weeks.
Yeah. It also looks like they had two different scripts because whatever movie
No, it was just made in 2 weeks, and
whatever movie that Tom Hardy was in was not the same movie that Michelle Williams or whatever her name is thought that
Oscar winner Michelle Williams.
Whatever movie, who was what's my man's
Riz
name?
Ahmed.
Whatever movie Riz Ahmed was in.
No, Riz Ahmed was in the same movie as Tom Hardy. He's like, because he was like, so he goes up to 11. I play on 1. Because Tom Hardy is just like, and Riz Ahmed's like, yes, that's interesting.
Jenny Slate's in the film. Like, it's such an odd
for
cast.
2 minutes.
Such an
2
odd
minutes,
cast.
and
underwhelming. On a number of different.
I only enjoyed it once when like he's up at the tower, and Ben's like, "Jump, Eddie, jump!" And it cuts to he's pushing the elevator button, and then Ben goes, "Pussy," and it's like he calls him a pussy because he take the elevator. It's just like I was like, all right, that's a.
The thing is, the back and forth between Venom and Eddie, I never remembered it being that like comical in.
It wasn't because
book, so it threw me off.
Venom, Khal. It's the villain to Spider-Man. Like,
but the voice was so hard to hear sometimes in the theater.
It's Tom Hardy, Khal. This is the man who was in Mad Max Fury Road. Like, and then was Bane. Like, well, Mr. Wayne.
What I'm saying, like, again, I'd been alive.
Did you see Let There Be Carnage?
Yes. Did I go to see it in theaters? I mean,
Banks talked about it because again, Banks and I talked about that today because I'm like, I didn't go see that last year because we're in this glut of movies right now, like we were last year, but around this time the fall. But no. But again, I knew when I saw the trailer because the trailer had nothing in it until the end. I'm like, this movie's gonna be shit.
I think I did because Jaden was such a big fan. I'm pretty sure I took him to see.
And oh yeah, I think you're right. I think you told me about that. Yeah,
pretty sure I took him to see.
And the final movie of 2018, and how we'll wrap up this week's episode. Mm-hmm. It's a sequel to my favorite movie of last episode, Creed 2. I like Creed 2 a lot. Not as much as the first Creed.
It's Creed 1's a better film, but it's a good film.
Yes, but people sleep on Creed 2. The Drago stuff works.
Yeah. Them arguing at that long ass table and shit. I love that.
And just the whole build up. Russell Hornsby, great as the promoter, playing them against each other.
Creed practicing out in the desert or whatever. That whole montage is hard.
It's great when he gets his car back from Andre Ward, aka Danny Stuntman Wheeler.
Right.
And he's the champ, and it's that like once you're the champ, you have to take on all comers. And Rocky has a great speech like, "This you can't beat this guy." Like basically what Mickey gave to him, and then he has like, "So you don't believe in me?" He goes to Wood Harris.
Yeah,
like they have a good training montage set to a Vince Staples song. Shout out to my guy Vince Staples, and he's doing the Muhammad Ali punching underwater.
Stuff was
and then he just gets washed by fucking Drago, and then it's like, damn, Tessa Thompson. I mean, they have the kid. There's some family drama stuff there, and it's a powerful film in that aspect too.
They had to dial that up, yeah.
And they get like he training in the desert, and it's not as good as running the streets of Philly with guys on ATV and Meek Mill playing, but him running on the highway with passing Rocky and the Mustang, and he's just going, and it's zooming closer on Michael B. Jordan as he's fucking looking, and it's just like, and the song's playing, and you're just like, fuck, yes. And that in my mind, I'm like, because Mission Impossible Fallout, I just saw months prior, I'm like, who wins in a foot race, Michael B. Jordan or Tom Cruise? Let's fucking book that shit. Like,
Tom Cruise is cheating because he's got the power of the Xenu.
And I'm like, and I get the fight in Russia. I like Creed 2 a lot. It's a big Creed 2 defender. You have the fucking Complex Con shirt that I'm jealous of. I talked about it a few weeks ago because you had finally had it on, and I'm like, I remember seeing that post on Complex's Instagram and being like, I need that shirt because it's so fucking.
I had to they had the virtual reality Rocky, so you had to play around to that, and then I think if you played around to that, then you got it. Like they had a couple of different activities you can do, but you had to do the activity to get the shirt. I needed that fucking shirt. But then I didn't realize everybody at work was going to have that shirt. So I put that shit on ice before COVID. I was like, I cannot wear this.
You rat.
I pulled it out the archives a couple of months back, and in the private Black Wrestling chat between the five of us, there were a couple of. I was surprised that people were commenting about that drop.
That shit.
It looks like a vintage. I wonder if I can find it. It looks like a vintage.
I've never looked into it in the last 2 years. I looked into it right away when it was. I'm like, is there a way I can get this shirt? Like,
I don't think I believe it was just exclusive to that con, and I only think you could buy it. Yeah, I just found it. Let me download. It's a really hard. I'm not sure. We would need to fact check if it's actually the date of the fight in the film.
I think it is. Yeah, it's the first one, the one in Barclays when he wins by DQ.
Such a great show. More than just a fight.
And that's it, because in the story again, it's like, oh, obviously he fights something. Like, that's a great story to tell. Like, imagine if your rival had a son and he was trained to be even more of a killer than his father was. Like, and he has something to fight for because he lost everything. It's a great story. Again, and Stephen Cable Jr. does a solid job. He's directing like the next Transformers movie.
I interviewed him for that too. Shouts to him.
Again, people sleep. I always am like, there are some good sequels out there. Not everything is Godfather Part 2. There are some good sequels out there.
Word.
So you're saying Infinity War is your favorite movie? Because you said Creed was your favorite movie of the ones I've seen.
Infinity
Wars.
Of the one, all right, how about this? Of the ones that you've mentioned from this time frame, 2016, 2017, 2018, I think I'm going to pick my favorites are John Wick 2, Get Out, and Infinity War. Those are the ones.
Those are probably the posters for the thumbnail anyway.
No. One of those will be in there. There's something that I have to throw in there, and then we mentioned.
Don't you dare put BBS in your.
I mean,
if you leave it up to me, I'll probably put.
Who knows?
I'll put Ryan Gosling and Blade Runner 2049, Blade Runner 2049, and Blade Runner. No, I'm kidding. But no, it probably will be a. I saw Creed 2 by myself. I couldn't drag this woman who, again, had been dating for a year
to see Creed. I would. That's probably less of a scare in the host film than.
I think I made her watch the first one. I don't think she liked it, and I was thinking, you're breaking. I made her watch Baby Driver when I got a chance, and again, she didn't like it, and that legit like hurt me. I'm like, but she's like, I don't like car movies. So then when I showed her the Fast and Furious, that was. Yeah,
because Drip is all about
movies, films, cinema.
I have to be that guy, and I did it with her. I did it with the second love of my life. I am the guy who has to show these women Tarantino films because they haven't seen them. I have to. Khal, I have to. No one else will.
But all right, the thing is, you got to find the right one because you can't. Not every person is into Tarantino specifically. You have to find the right person who has never seen a Tarantino film but would be open to watching a Tarantino film. It's not that easy. Babe.
Because then what happens is like, I'm like, what do you want to watch? Like, oh, you pick something. Then I'm like, there are so many choices. And I'm like, I'm trying to read them, but I'm also like,
He's
really
like,
wanna watch this.
uncut gems.
No, it'll never be Uncut Gems, which we'll be talking about next week.
Yeah, we may have to start, or we may have to start the show with uncut gems.
No, because it's the end of 2019. Literally the end. It's the last. It's New Year's Eve of 2019. But
technically Christmas, depending on where you were. I think they were hyping it as a Christmas release.
I saw it on the last day of 2019. Is what I'm saying. Yeah.
I want to say it dropped a couple days before Christmas.
But yeah, no, it was. Yeah, maybe that's why I scare them away, Cal, with the movies. Maybe that's what it is.
I hate saying scaring the hoes, but I think
I never say scare. Yeah, I never say it.
Know what you mean. Like the term scaring the hoes is really, really indicative of taking.
And I make them laugh, so it's like, I'll stay for that.
you got making them laugh, and then they're laughing, and then they're going to see Hereditary, and you don't know if everyone that you're with is going to be down to check out Hereditary. It's some of these are acquired tastes, is all I'm saying.
That is the thing. It's like, what's a movie? I'm like, I don't think I could drag. If I was me now in 2003, I probably would have to see SWAT by myself. But I also would know, like, I know you don't want to see SWAT with me, so I'm gonna go. Like, basically, that's what Blade Runner 2049 was. Like, I know you won't want to see this 2.5-hour movie.
Oh, right.
About cinematography. I'm gonna save you for that. From that,
this futuristic movie about cinematography. That's good. That's good, Drip.
Yeah, this was part 2. Again, I think this was. Like I told you last week, I saw a lot of movies in 2017 as we broke it down, but I was just full. Again, it's what happens in half the year. I was like, I'm Clarence Worley. Then I have an Alabama show up in my life, so we're going to the movies, babe. Like,
you got like Alabama was down. Though is what I'm saying. She was in there. She was making the racist like she was doing all that shit. But that was because she was into what she was watching on that screen.
Yeah.
Whatever he was throwing.
I thought I meant, we're not there yet.
You ain't got. You know when you got to Alabama. You ain't get.
No, I thought I did, but that's next week's episode.
You thought you had an Alabama. You ain't get no Alabama yet.
It's not the woman mentioned here, but she was a very beautiful woman, very kind woman. But next week's episode will go 2019, 2020, 2021. We won't go 2022 because that's still in progress, and I'll also be having to save those movies for best of 2022 that will be on Banks versus Davis, which is on YouTube every single week. My brother, I am not Banks, aka Banks. He's been on BRP. He hasn't been on White Noise yet. He will be probably for, like I said, for that Guy Ritchie, Matthew Vaughn episode. But Cal, you can't believe you released like, oh, John Wick, get out. Look, you ain't missed shit. But then I was just like, you went to see what? The Mummy. The Mummy, like
999. I'm glad your taste evolved, though. I mean, you've definitely made better decisions. Although I have to go back and look and see what else came out during some of the years, because I know, like, not seeing Deadpool was an interesting one. I feel like there was another.
I was real like, I feel nothing's gonna happen in this movie. Like, in terms, like, I feel like Deadpool. And nothing does happen, but like, it's good. Like, they make it work. Like I said, like, they didn't have the budget they'd have for Deadpool 2. Like, they made a miracle. It was a legit miracle for Deadpool.
Like, you didn't see Aquaman? No,
and I regret it because once I rented it, I'm like, wow, this was really good.
Yeah, it's interesting to see. And I kind of just like glanced at 20.
No, I'm trying to think, because this is a whole episode in itself. Like, the movies I should have seen but didn't see.
Like Sicario 2 came out in 20.
I didn't go see Sicario 2 at the theater, and that's why they canceled what would have been a third film. But to be fair, it wasn't Denis Villeneuve.
Right. It was.
But it's a sequel I like.
I had noticed you didn't see Black Klansman that year.
No, and then when I saw Black Klansman on HBO the next year, I'm like, damn, that was pretty good. But I've never, like I told you before, I've just never seen enough Spike movies.
That
which is on me.
For what we should get out of here, but for what Spike had been doing with his previous films, that was like, and shouts out.
No, that's what I mean. When I saw him, like, should I watch more Spike Lee movies? Then
yeah, you just got to see the right ones. You got.
I did like the Five. That's why I'm like, when the Five Bloods came out, I'm like, I'm watching this, and when I watch, I'm like, this is fucking really good.
Like Black shouts out to Jordan Peele for like coming in and helping produce Black Klansman. I think Spike Lee needed to get Black Klansman out of his system, because when he did the Five Bloods, you could tell that he was in his bag. He was shooting on film to make just to
and
make.
he got fucked over with the de-aging.
Yeah,
that they had initially promised, but then took away because he was supposed to do. That was supposed to be his Irishman.
He was spending so much money. He was on location. I had a brief conversation about him. He was on location making that film, and it was so fun. Shouts to Netflix for putting it out, but it was an expensive ass movie because of what he was doing. And
still, I've said to you before, powerful scene of the house. Where'd he go? The house. The landmine scene is probably one of the most powerful things ever acted and filmed. Damn. And no wonder Jonathan Majors is going to be the biggest star of 2023, 2024, and 2025 when he's in Creed 3 and he's Kang. And then whatever else he'll be doing.
Delroy Lindo was robbed. But anyway, we got to get out of here, Drew.
Yeah.
We've been here far longer than I thought we would.
I knew this was going to be the longer episode. I apologize, but like I said, I just saw a shit ton of movies in 2017.
Facts.
I didn't really go into much of the personal, but like 2018, good year. That's why I have it tattooed on me.
Look at this man, Roman and everything.
But there's just so much movies going on. And 2016 bad movie year, 2017 good movie year, 2018 great movie year.
Phenomenal AJ Styles movie year.
Khal, where can the people find you on social media?
I'm at Khal on Twitter, but more importantly at Black Wrestling on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. BlackWrestling.com is the website. As always, you can find the Black Wrestling Podcast Thursday nights, 8:35 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube.com/Black Wrestling. Shouts out to Fam and Math and Mimi. Patreon.com/Black Wrestlers, where you can get shows like this and other extra content that we're doing under the BRP umbrella. You can pay to 1, you can pay to 10, you get dope content. Pay that 10, you can get something a little extra, but we'll talk about that when that's happening. I think that's all I've got. Drip, take us up.
Again, shout out to all you on the Patreon. Shout out to all the YouTube subscribers. We're almost to 1,000. That's when the promised screen of Reina, I believe, is supposed to be happening. But that's for the cousins from Baltimore to handle. That's their endeavor.
We're close though. We are so close.
We are close, so close. But you can find me on Twitter at Davis aka Drip, Instagram Davis DC, like Khal said. Here, YouTube. These are on YouTube. If you're watching here, we appreciate it. But paying the 1, paying the 10, keep doing that. BigCartel.com, bookmark it for any future drops. Matt Damon, he never misses, like Mellow Hayes. I gotta make that fucking video still, damn it. But this hat, this shirt, that shirt, that's not our hat. That is a good hat. Shouts out to Vin and Emilio.
Facts.
Even though Emilio doesn't think I'm a real person.
Let's get Vin on here someday.
Yeah. I gotta think about when I bring the guests on. I always try to tailor the show to them. I had initially asked someone to come on the show what would have been for this week, but then I came up with this idea instead. I'll give that person another time. But
word, I'm with it.
It would be a good episode of him. But you can see us, like Khal said, every Thursday night on YouTube. Shout out to Mimi, Math, Fam. Something Else Pod every Wednesday morning, 11:11. Who did they say they had this coming up? Willie Mack. Willie Mack. Yes. And shout out to Seahawk is someone I should try to get on here, but I've never tried reaching out to Seahawks. So
he's good people. Salute.
We'll see y'all next time, where I will be your predictions champion.
It's gonna be show. No, we'll see.
You know what? I think we might end these episodes going forward with a clip of me from BRP, like a best. You should play me dancing if you want, but I'm saying it might be in that. I had a clip in mind that I should have sent, but it was like, you know what? I gotta start putting something together where I'm in the show. I mentioned this week when the professor was on. and he's like, look at all those bearded men, and then I pop up, and everyone's just like, and then I mentioned the Evan Mac one, like, look at all these beautiful black people, oh, look at all of us, and then I pop in, and he's like, Trevor, we might end the show on some like my great comedic timing moments.
Hey,
you don't have you don't have it in the chamber, but Cody Rhodes, you make it look like a struggle, like that might.
The only Cody Rhodes that's in the chamber is
my wife will give birth.
I'm sorry, but yeah, we're not going to do that.
Yeah,
no,
but
yeah,
that might be our outro. Is a moment of drip.
Hey, sounds crazy, but yeah, if anybody watching In Tune with White Noise, stay in tune for new outros soon. We'll see what happens. We'll get some pre-production on. Until then, we'll catch y'all next time.
Peace.